Hi, welcome back guys. This is your sensei, back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Naruto Wielded the Six Eyes? Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze was a remarkable figure, known for his unique heritage and extraordinary abilities. As the only child of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki, he bore the heavy burden of being the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails from the moment he was born. This fate led to a tumultuous childhood, marked by rejection from many in Konoha, especially after he was expelled for endangering the village's safety. Possessing two powerful bloodlines, Limitless and Six Eyes, Naruto also wielded the formidable Raijin Jaka and Raijin Inazuma, two of the most potent swords in existence. His mastery of the Nine Tails chakra and perfect sage mode allowed him to blend these abilities seamlessly, enhancing his already impressive combat skills. At the age of 24, Naruto had transformed from a lonely outcast into a formidable shinobi. After his banishment from Konoha, he encountered new mentors, including Rayleigh of Kirigakure and Rinji Kagaya. He also met Soya Ainsu, who would become a close friend and rival. His journey took him to Zhuge Liang and Yu Ying, where he trained alongside Anasu before venturing out to explore the elemental continent. During his travels, Naruto arrived in Kaminari no Kuni, where he played a crucial role in aiding the rebel factions during the Civil War. His leadership and strength led him to become the Rokudaime Reikage of Kumogakure no Sato, where he founded the Heavenly Alliance, solidifying his status as one of the strongest Kage in history. His victories over the four Hokages of Konohagakure earned him the revered title of Shinobi no Kami. Naruto's personality was characterized by his boisterous and exuberant nature, reminiscent of Hashirama Senju. His longing for acknowledgement drove him to engage in pranks, seeking attention even if it meant facing reprimands. This longing for recognition fueled his ambition to become Hokage, the ultimate symbol of respect and acknowledgement in Konoha. Despite the challenges he faced, Naruto remained steadfast in his determination, believing that with hard work and perseverance, he could achieve any goal. Over the years, Naruto matured significantly, shedding much of his youthful naivety. His experiences with Rayleigh, Rinji, and Anasu honed his strategic thinking and tactical skills. Under Zhuge Liang's guidance, he became a master strategist, capable of predicting enemy movements and leading his comrades effectively in battle. His belief that a Kage should share the risks of battle with their shinobi guided his leadership style, inspiring loyalty and courage among his followers. Naruto's diplomatic skills also flourished as he attracted multiple nations to join the Heavenly Alliance, establishing it as a major power. His charisma and unique ability to bring out the best in others allowed him to forge alliances even with former enemies. Despite his maturity, he retained some of his youthful quirks, such as a penchant for pranks and a longing to showcase his skills. Confident in his abilities, Naruto's self-assuredness bordered on arrogance, a trait that was somewhat justified given his status as the strongest shinobi and Kage on the elemental continent. However, he also possessed a merciful side, caring deeply for his family, friends, and the people of Kumogakure. He had a particular empathy for those who shared his struggles, such as orphans and those who had faced adversity. In terms of appearance, Naruto had striking snow-white hair, a legacy of his father's spiky locks, and vibrant blue eyes that reflected his mother's features. He typically wore a sleeveless black shirt paired with black umbu breathes, complemented by fingerless gloves and boots. His attire included a red armband featuring the Uzumaki clan crest on his left arm and the Namikaze clan crest on his right hand, along with a long blue coat that completed his distinctive look. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze's journey was one of transformation, resilience, and unwavering determination, solidifying his legacy as a hero and a leader in the shinobi world. Naruto typically covered his eyes with a black blndfld. After becoming Reikage, he wore a garment reminiscent of his father's, a white cape adorned with a black lightning pattern around the hem, secured by a black rope, and emblazoned with the kanji for Rokudaime Reikage, meaning sixth lightning shadow. Standing at 192 centimeters tall and weighing 83 kilograms, Naruto embodied the strength and resilience of his lineage. His father was Minato Namikaze, and his mother was Kushina Uzumaki. Naruto held significant affiliations, including being the Raikage of Kumogakure no Sato, the head of the Uzumaki clan, and the head of the Namikaze clan. He was also the founder and leader of the shinobi section of the Heavenly Alliance, with ties to Mount Myaboku and the Terra Draken. He had previously led the rebel fraction of Kumo and was once part of Konohagakure no Sato, Team 7, and the Konoha as of now. He was alive and held the rank of Kage. Initially, Naruto struggled as a ninja, failing to graduate from the academy 3 times. However, through determination and rigorous training, he rapidly improved, defeating formidable opponents like Niji Hyuga, Gaara, and Kabuto, earning recognition from all Sannin for his potential. After being banished from Konoha, he faced a significant challenge when his chakra was sealed. In a desperate bid for survival against the Akatsuki, he sought Kurama's help to flood his system with chakra. This partnership blossomed into a friendship, leading Kurama to reveal the seal placed by Danzo, warning Naruto of the dire consequences if he attempted to break it. Seeking guidance, Naruto consulted his sensei Rayleigh, who introduced him to Zhuge Liang, a seal emissary capable of removing the seal. Once freed, Naruto and Anasu began training under Zhuge Liang's mentorship. With the guidance of Zhuge Liang and Rayleigh, Naruto faced and defeated various members of the Akatsuki. Harnessing the full potential of his 6 eyes, he became nearly unstoppable in battle, even overpowering the 4 Hokages. As an Uzumaki, Naruto possessed immense chakra reserves, far exceeding those of seasoned jonin like Kakashi Hatake. His initial lack of control was offset by his vast reserves, but after gaining 6 eyes and Limitless, his chakra control reached new heights, surpassing even Tsunade's. He could perform one-handed hand seals and had a powerful life force that granted him longevity, healing abilities, stamina, and vitality. His chakra was potent enough to repel Shikamaru Nara's shadow imitation technique and could destroy high-level barriers with a mere burst. Naruto trained in Senjutsu at Mount Myaboku, a feat made possible by his high chakra reserves. Unlike Jiraiya, he achieved a perfect balance of natural chakra, entering a complete Sage mode characterized by orange pigmentation around his yellow eyes and toad-like pupils. His appearance remained unchanged. Sage mode enhanced Naruto's techniques, physical abilities, and allowed him to utilize Frog Kata, a unique taijutsu style. Due to Kurama's interference, Fukasaku could not fuse with Naruto to gather natural energy, so Naruto employed shadow clones to maintain the technique, transferring the natural energy accumulated by the clones to himself. However, creating more than 5 clones disrupted the focus required for gathering energy. Over time, as Naruto honed his skills, he learned to enter Sage mode more quickly. Ultimately, after achieving unity with Kurama, he overcame the limitations of his previous methods and learned to combine Sage mode with Kurama's chakra for enhanced abilities. Naruto could enter Kurama chakra mode, enveloping himself in orange chakra that granted him immense strength. This marked his first successful control of Kurama's chakra. Known as Kurama Chakra Mode, he could also transform into the giant 9 tails using Kurama Chakra Mode 2, achieving a perfect Jinchuriki transformation and completing his full-tailed beast transformation. The Limitless technique, an inherited ability from the Uzumaki family, allowed Naruto to manipulate and distort space, bringing the concept of infinity into reality. While any Uzumaki could inherit this technique, only those with 6 eyes could truly emissary its power. The technique operated on mathematical principles, creating an invisible barrier that slowed down anything attempting to penetrate it. This barrier could be expanded to keep harmful substances away or to overpower adversaries by increasing its output. The user could deactivate the Limitless or dismiss it with a domain, and specialized chakra techniques could disturb or dispel it. The strengthened Limitless, known as Blue, amplified the chakra output of the technique and generated a magnetic-like effect. This allowed Naruto to constrict space around a target, crushing their appendages or demolishing structures. The maximum chakra output created a large field of attraction, but using it required precise chakra manipulation, which could quickly exhaust the user. Additionally, Naruto could achieve high-speed movement across short distances using blue, making him a formidable opponent in battle. The speed granted by the combination of techniques made Naruto Uzumaki the fastest shinobi of his era. This remarkable ability required precise manipulation of chakra and could lead to quick exhaustion. It also necessitated the rare combination of both the limitless and the six eyes. The reversed limitless technique, known as red, reversed the effects of the strengthened technique, bringing the divergence of infinity into reality and generating the power to repel. This was achieved by flowing reverse chakra into the power of the limitless, creating a repelling effect instead of a magnetic one. The technique manifested as a small red orb that unleashed immense explosive force instantly, with an energy output at least twice that of the blue technique. Generating the reverse chakra needed for red was extremely challenging. It required more complex manipulation of chakra than usual, making the execution of reversed limitless more sophisticated than using strengthened limitless. The user had to multiply their negative energy by negative energy to create positive energy, a concept that proved difficult in practice. Using a reverse technique was complicated for any shinobi, even for the most gifted members of the Uzumaki family. A user of limitless could teleport long distances through spatial manipulation under certain conditions. This was accomplished by compressing the space between their current location and their destination, allowing them to teleport anyone they were touching. The user could also utilize a drawn chakra circle to teleport others. The unlimited void served as the domain expansion of limitless, trapping the target within the concept of infinity. Inside this domain, the target was inundated with an endless stream of information, overwhelming their mind and leaving them in a catatonic state. The six eyes, a unique trait found within the Uzumaki clan, was not a technique that needed activation but an innate ability that allowed the bearer to mstr the limitless. A bearer of the six eyes possessed exceptional perception and unparalleled visual prowess, surpassing any other sorcerer. Their eyesight resembled that of a high-definition infrared camera, enabling them to see even when their eyes were covered. They could easily distinguish different figures from several kilometers away. The six eyes could perceive chakra flow, allowing the bearer to read an individual's technique and understand its function. They could differentiate between various types of chakra and identify individuals based on it. This ability also enabled precise manipulation of chakra at an atomic level, allowing the bearer to operate the limitless through complex chakra control with great efficiency. The amount of chakra lost when activating a technique was almost negligible, making it nearly impossible for them to run out of chakra. The six eyes were a passive trait that could not be deactivated and did not appear to require chakra to function. However, leaving the six eyes uncovered for extended PRDIS could lead to fatigue. To mitigate this, the user could cover their eyes with a blnd bandages, or dark sunglasses. While the six eyes needed to be entirely unobstructed to utilize advanced techniques of the limitless, such as hollow purple and unlimited void, prolonged use could lead to fatigue, which could be alleviated by covering the eyes. The black flash technique created spatial distortion when the user connected with an impact of chakra within a fraction of a second of a physical hit. This phenomenon caused the chakra to flash black, resulting in a more potent attack, increasing its power significantly. The reinforced version of the neutral limitless, known as blue, was a byproduct of Naruto amplifying the limitless and positive energy, producing a vacuum. Through this technique, Naruto created a scenario where the world was compelled to correct itself and fill in the positive space, causing all matter within the commanded range to be pulled together. Naruto could also create a center of gravity in a specific space capable of attracting all matter, effortlessly crushing it, much like a black hole. He had the ability to move this point of gravity at will, significantly augmenting its destructive capabilities. The chakra technique reversal, known as red, was an inversion of blue, possessing the opposite effect. By utilizing his reversal technique to invert the properties of blue, Naruto activated the divergence of his infinity, producing an extremely powerful repulsive force that repelled all matter in its vicinity. This ability, powered by negative chakra energy, had twice the destructive capability of blue. The advanced technique known as hollow technique, purple combined the lapse and reversal of the limitless, resulting in an imaginary mass launched at the target. This technique merged the lapse and reversal techniques, creating a powerful force directed toward an opponent. Naruto could distort space around his fist or weapon, increasing the impact force of his physical attacks. His signature technique, the shadow clone technique, allowed him to create multiple clones. Initially struggling with basic illusionary clones, he mastered the ability to create shadow clones on a massive scale after studying the Scroll of Seals. With his unusually high chakra reserves, Naruto could produce hundreds of shadow clones, each retaining significant amounts of chakra. These clones served various purposes, from outnumbering or deceiving enemies to maneuvering mid-air, transforming into weapons, scouting areas, or testing opponents' abilities. During his training with Rayleigh, Naruto learned that the original would gain all the knowledge and conditioning of a shadow clone once it dispersed. This insight enabled him to accelerate his training, gaining years' worth of experience in just a few days. The multiple shadow clone technique allowed the creation of a large number of clones. The clone body blow involved creating a clone to attack an opponent, while the clone great explosion enabled the user to create a clone that could be detonated. The clone spinning heel drop involved a clone performing a spinning heel drop. Naruto also developed elemental techniques, such as wind style, shadow clone, which allowed him to create a shadow clone infused with wind. This clone could perform jutsu and interact with the environment due to its physical substance. If injured, it would revert to its natural wind state, cutting up nearby objects and blowing them away. Similarly, the fire style, shadow clone technique allowed the creation of a shadow clone infused with fire, capable of performing jutsu and interacting with the environment. If a clone sustains injury, it will revert to its natural elemental state, causing destruction to anything nearby. The water style, shadow clone technique allows the user to create a shadow clone infused with water. This clone can perform jutsu and interact with the environment due to its physical form. If it is injured, it will turn back into water, soaking everything around it. Similarly, the earth style, shadow clone technique enables the user to create a shadow clone infused with earth. This clone can also perform jutsu and interact with its surroundings. If injured, it will revert to its natural earth state, burying whatever is close by. The lightning style, shadow clone technique allows for the creation of a shadow clone infused with lightning. This clone can perform jutsu and interact with the environment. If it is injured, it will revert to its natural lightning state, electrocuting anything nearby. Naruto's signature technique, the Rasengan, initially required him to use a shadow clone to form its spherical shape while he supplied the chakra due to his poor chakra control. Over time, he developed more advanced versions of the Rasengan and learned to perform it more quickly, increasing its size as well. With the use of Senjutsu or Kurama's chakra, Naruto could create even more powerful variations, including the super mini-tailed beast ball, which he executed similarly to the Rasengan. In the anime, his tailed beast chakra allowed him to launch massive Rasengan without using his hands, firing them in rapid succession like a tailed beast ball. The big ball Rasengan is a larger and more powerful version of the original technique, requiring a greater infusion of chakra to create its larger size. The planetary Rasengan is an advanced version of the big ball Rasengan, where Naruto creates 3 regular-sized Rasengan that orbit around a larger central one. Naruto also added chakra nature to his Rasengan, resulting in the wind release Rasengan, which has a windy nature. The wind release Rasen Shuriken is a more advanced version, taking the form of a shuriken and increasing its power. The fire style Inferno Rasengan infuses the Rasengan with fire chakra, creating a spinning ball of intense flames that can melt through almost anything. The lightning style Storm Rasengan incorporates lightning chakra, crackling with electricity and forming a small storm cloud above it, releasing a burst of lightning upon impact. The fire and lightning style Plasma Rasengan combines fire and lightning chakra, resulting in a Rasengan made of superheated plasma, while the fire and wind style Blazing Tempest Rasengan takes on the form of a fiery tornado, enhancing the spread and intensity of the fire. The wind and lightning style Thunderstorm Rasengan creates a swirling storm cloud with crackling lightning, increasing speed and force upon impact. The Psycho Rasengan is a more advanced version of the regular Rasengan, where the user channels and controls significant amounts of chakra to form a gigantic Rasengan larger than their own body. This technique possesses the same destructive power as Jiraiya's Cho Odama Rasengan, capable of hollowing out an entire mountain. Unlike the Cho Odama Rasengan, the Psycho Rasengan is formed entirely from Naruto's chakra, making it dangerous and challenging to master. In Tailed Beast mode, Naruto creates a Rasengan with the assistance of his Tailed Beast, leading to the Tailed Beast Ball Rasen Shuriken, an incredibly powerful weapon. He can also create multiple Rasen Shuriken and hurl them at his opponent, known as the Wind Release, Repeated Rasen Shuriken, or a larger, more destructive version called the Wind Release, Ultra Big Ball Rasen Shuriken. Naruto has a natural affinity for wind, lightning, fire, and water, and is also familiar with Earth Release. His Wind Release chakra is unpredictable and powerful, sharp enough to slice through anything in its path. Techniques such as Wind Style, Gale Palm allow him to create gusts of wind from his palm, while Wind Style, Gale Kick infuses his kick with wind chakra, sending a powerful gust toward the enemy. The Wind Style, Breakthrough technique enables him to expel a gust of wind strong enough to blow away everything nearby, and it can also be used to create a vortex of wind to save a falling ally. The Wind Style, Air Bullets technique shoots multiple air bullets at high speed, capable of subduing a group of enemies. Naruto can create a wall of wind with the Wind Style, Wind Wall, deflecting projectiles and protecting himself from attacks. The Wind Style, Whirlwind Spin is a defensive technique where he spins and releases a large amount of wind chakra, creating a whirlwind around himself to defend against various attacks. Opponents would be forcefully pushed back with severe lacerations if they made physical contact with a whirlwind. Naruto's lightning release chakra nature was electrifying, allowing him to generate and manipulate electricity. This ability charged his attacks with a shocking force capable of stunning and immobilizing his opponents. One of his techniques, lightning release, electromagnetic murder, generated a field of electricity that could shock opponents, making it versatile for both offense and defense. Another technique, lightning release, Thunderbolt, sent a bolt of electricity that split into multiple branches, effectively attacking several enemies at once. His signature technique, lightning release, White Lightning, required no hand seals. Instead, he concentrated a large amount of lightning chakra into his fingertip, releasing a powerful bolt from his finger. Naruto also unleashed lightning release, Purple Lightning, a stream of purple electricity that targeted enemies at short to mid-range. This technique was powerful enough to summon rain clouds when shot into the sky. The Crimson Shock technique concentrated a substantial amount of lightning chakra in his palm, similar to the techniques of Chidori and Raikiri. In addition to his lightning techniques, Naruto wielded the fire release chakra nature, which allowed him to create and control fire. His fire style, Great Fireball Jutsu, involved kneading chakra inside his body, converting it into fire, and expelling it as a massive orb or continuous flame. The scope of this attack could be altered by controlling the chakra volume. With the fire style, Phoenix Sage Fire technique, he launched a volley of small fireballs into the air, which appeared as one fireball that burst into many, moving wildly and potentially mesmerizing targets. The fire style, Dragon Fire technique allowed him to spew flames that traveled quickly in a straight direction, engulfing targets upon contact. Naruto also utilized the fire style, Fire Dragon Flame Bullet, compressing chakra into a dragon head-shaped fireball, which he skillfully manipulated to attack his opponents. The Great Dragon Fire technique was similar, showcasing his mastery over fire manipulation. His fire style, Great Flame Flower, involved creating multiple fireballs that rained down on targets, causing widespread damage and overpowering water release attacks. In the aftermath of a previous mission, the retrieval team sent to bring back the renegade Uchiha Sasuke returned to their village, battered but victorious. The team, originally composed of 6 members, had faced severe trials, resulting in 4 members sustaining critical injuries, while another was severely hurt but out of immediate danger. The last member escaped with only a broken finger. Despite their injuries, all members were on a steady path to recovery, thanks to the exceptional medical skills of Tsunade, the Godame Hokage, renowned for her expertise in medical ninjutsu. Several days had passed since Team Shikamaru returned from their successful S-Class retrieval mission. Uchiha Sasuke was now confined to a bed in Konoha Hospital, restrained and with his chakra temporarily sealed, including his Sharingan. His curse seal, a dangerous power bestowed upon him by the rogue ninja Orochimaru, had been sealed by Jiraiya, making it nearly impossible for Sasuke to use it. Security measures were stringent, with Nine Biju guards stationed outside his room, following Tsunade's orders. Sasuke was a prisoner in his village, unable to do anything but stare at the hospital room's ceiling. One day, a member of his retrieval team entered the room with a giant grin on his face. This was Uzumaki Naruto, who had thwarted Sasuke's attempt to gain the power he believed he needed to avenge his clan and kill his brother, Itachi. In response to Naruto's grin, Sasuke turned and glared, his frustration and resentment evident. Naruto sighed, his gaze softening as he watched Sasuke struggle against his bonds. He had hoped that Sasuke would see the truth about Orochimaru's intentions, but the thirst for revenge had blinded his former teammate. He expressed genuine concern for Sasuke's well-being, but Sasuke's response was filled with anger and frustration. Naruto attempted to lighten the tense atmosphere with a joke about dragging Sasuke back to the village if necessary, but Sasuke was not in the mood for humor. He thrashed on the bed, trying to free himself from the restraints. His futile actions spoke volumes about his determination and stubbornness. Despite everything, he remained the same Sasuke that Naruto knew, stubborn, determined, and unwilling to give up. Naruto could only hope that Sasuke would eventually see the error of his ways and choose a different path. For now, he could only stand by Sasuke's side, offering his support and friendship even if it was not welcomed. Sasuke's anger was palpable, his frustration filling the sterile hospital room. He expressed his rage about being restrained and having his abilities sealed off, feeling powerless and trapped. Despite the intensity of Sasuke's emotions, Naruto remained calm, explaining that he had acted to protect him from Orochimaru and from himself. He urged Sasuke to consider the consequences of seeking power at such a high cost. Sasuke, filled with defiance, threatened Naruto, expressing his longing to retaliate if he were not bound to the bed. Naruto was taken aback by Sasuke's hostility, yet he still hoped for reconciliation with his former teammate. However, it was clear that the path to healing would be long and challenging. Naruto understood that he needed to remain strong for both of them. The tension in the room was thick as Sasuke continued to voice his resentment. He declared that he did not need Naruto's help or the village of Konoha, only the power to avenge his brother. His words were a raw display of pain and anger, revealing the depth of his suffering. He felt that Naruto could never understand his struggles, having been born without the same familial connections. Sasuke's outburst was filled with bitterness, and he demanded that Naruto leave his presence. Naruto sighed, realizing that his efforts to reach out to Sasuke had been in vain. Sasuke's quest for revenge consumed him, blinding him to any other perspective. With a heavy heart, Naruto exited the room, leaving Sasuke alone with his turbulent thoughts. While he had succeeded in bringing Sasuke back, the journey to restore their friendship and Sasuke's former self was far from complete. The next day, Naruto stood at the familiar meeting spot of Team 7, filled with anticipation as he awaited Sakura's arrival. He had hoped for gratitude or perhaps a smile for bringing Sasuke back, but what he received was unexpected. As Sakura approached, Naruto greeted her with a smile, but before he could finish his sentence, she struck him with a punch that landed squarely on his cheek. Shock coursed through him as he instinctively raised a hand to his stinging face. Sakura's words were as harsh as her actions, filled with anger and accusation. She confronted Naruto about his treatment of Sasuke, expressing her disappointment and concern for her teammates' well-being. Each of her words felt like a piercing blow, deepening Naruto's sense of guilt. For several minutes, Sakura unleashed her fury on Naruto, physically and verbally attacking him. Yet, Naruto remained passive, enduring the onslaught without raising a hand in defense. He accepted her anger, knowing that it stemmed from her care for Sasuke. Eventually, Sakura looked down at Naruto, her eyes filled with contempt. She expressed her hatred for him, calling him a monster, and declared that she never wanted to see him again. With that, she turned and walked away, leaving Naruto alone with his thoughts. If she had lingered, she might have heard the sound of his heartbreak and seen the tears falling from his eyes. But she did not. Naruto was left with a heavy heart, burdened by the weight of Sakura's words and the reality of his situation. Despite all he had done, he still longed for understanding and acceptance from those he cared about most. In the Hokage office of Konoha, Naruto found himself summoned to the council chambers, a place where significant decisions about the village and its shinobi were made. Upon entering, he was met with surprised expressions, as his usually vibrant demeanor had been replaced by a dead, miserable tone. He approached the council with a lack of energy, acknowledging their summons. Tsunade, the Godame Hokage, noticed this drastic change in Naruto's behavior and felt a wave of concern wash over her. She pondered the reasons behind his unusual state, determined to inquire about it once the meeting concluded. Elder Council member Mitokado Hamura confirmed Naruto's summons, stating that the council had reviewed the reports submitted by him, his teammates, the Suna team, Rock Lee, and his sensei, Hatake Kakashi. He expressed the council's mixed feelings about the mission's outcome. While they were pleased that a newly promoted Chunin and a team of Genin had successfully completed such a challenging task, they were troubled by the details surrounding the battle between Naruto and his teammate, Uchiha Sasuke. As the discussion unfolded, Naruto felt a cold sensation settle in his stomach when he heard the council's concerns. Elder Council member Udatane Koharu explained that they were worried about Naruto's use of the Kyuubi's chakra during the battle, which had resulted in significant destruction in the Valley of the End. In his defense, Naruto explained that he had been compelled to use the Kyuubi's chakra due to Sasuke's activation of the curse seal. He emphasized that his intention had been to capture Sasuke, who was determined to harm him. To illustrate his point, he revealed the scars on his chest from Sasuke's Chidori attacks, which served as a stark reminder of the fierce confrontation between the two former teammates. Several clan heads present, including Akimichi Choza, Nara Shikaku, and Inazuka Tsum, empathized with Naruto, recalling that their sons had been part of the same team. They understood the gravity of the situation, as one of the boys had been critically injured, much like Naruto. Despite the council's acknowledgement of Naruto's defense, they remained concerned about his emotional state during the battle. Elder Danzo Shimura pointed out that Naruto had reported feeling intense anger when calling upon the Kyuubi's chakra, which had contributed to Sasuke's injuries. He reminded the council of previous incidents where Naruto had struggled to control the Kyuubi's power, highlighting a mission in Nami no Kuni where Naruto had nearly lost control against an enemy. Tsunade, fiercely protective of Naruto, defended him passionately. She argued that he had demonstrated control over the Kyuubi's chakra during the Chunin exams, where he had defeated Hyuga Niji without causing unnecessary harm. She insisted that Naruto's training under Jiraiya should alleviate any concerns the council had regarding his ability to manage the Kyuubi's power. However, Danzo remained unconvinced, asserting that Jiraiya's training had not yielded the desired results. He expressed his belief that Naruto's emotional instability posed a significant risk, especially considering the damage he had inflicted on Sasuke, whom he regarded as his closest friend. Danzo's words served as a reminder of the potential danger Naruto could pose if he were to lose control again. He lamented the disbandment of the Root Division, suggesting that had he been allowed to train Naruto, the situation might have been different. Tsunade countered this notion fiercely, arguing that had Danzo been given the chance, Naruto would have been reduced to a mere puppet. The atmosphere in the council chambers was thick with tension as Danzo calmly articulated his intentions. He claimed that he sought to train Naruto to become a perfect weapon for Konoha, insisting that his motives were rooted in the village's best interests. Tsum, however, remained skeptical, perceiving Danzo as a war hawk who viewed shinobi as disposable tools. Her disdain for his methods was palpable, as she valued camaraderie above all else. As the discussion progressed, the focus shifted to a new threat, the Akatsuki, an organization composed of 9 S-class missing Nins. Elder Council member Udatane Kohar urged the council to consider the implications of this emerging danger, as reported by Jiraiya. The atmosphere in the chamber remained charged with urgency and concern for the village's future. One of the members mentioned was Uchiha Itachi, and a former member was Orochimaru, a reminder of the dangers that lurked outside the village. This added another layer of complexity to the ongoing deliberations in the council chambers, which were filled with a sense of foreboding. Elder Council member Udatane Kohara outlined the threat posed by the Akatsuki, emphasizing that Konoha was at a significant disadvantage. The village had little to no information regarding the Akatsuki's goals, except for their pursuit of the Biju. Kohara also highlighted Konoha's current vulnerability due to the invasions from Suna and Oto, along with the potential danger of another attack aimed at capturing Naruto, the container of the Kyuubi. As Naruto listened, a chill ran down his spine, realizing he was the subject of their discussion. The atmosphere in the room grew colder when Kohara proposed a drastic solution: to banish Naruto, thereby removing the target from Konoha. Nara Shikaku, a seasoned shinobi known for his wisdom, expressed his concern about this proposal, questioning how they could even consider such an action. Kohara responded with a steady and resolute tone, explaining that the Akatsuki would stop at nothing to obtain the Biju. As long as they had the Kyuubi, Konoha would remain in danger. Her suggestion was to banish Naruto so that the village would no longer be a target. The council chambers fell into a heavy silence as the members absorbed the implications of Koharu's words. Tsunade, the Hokage, vehemently refused to consider the banishment of Naruto. Her determination and defiance filled the room as she declared that she would not allow such a decision to be made simply out of fear of the Akatsuki. Naruto, who had been silently listening, felt a wave of dread wash over him as he grasped the gravity of the situation. He recalled his past encounters with Koharu, who had always treated him with barely concealed disdain. However, a glimmer of hope sparked within him when Tsunade declared her refusal to allow his banishment. He believed in her and trusted that she would protect him. That hope was short-lived, as a slight, sinister smirk appeared on Koharu's face, shattering Naruto's newfound optimism. She coldly explained that according to the village charter, the council could overrule the Hokage's decision if the safety of the village was at stake and the Hokage was unwilling or incapable of addressing the issue. This revelation sent a chill down Naruto's spine. The council's deliberation was not just about him, it was about the safety of the entire village. The weight of the situation was immense, and the outcome of this meeting could alter the course of his life forever. The council chambers were filled with tension and disbelief as the discussion about Naruto's fate unfolded. Tsunade expressed her outrage at the proposal to banish the young ninja, emphasizing that such an action would only serve to empower the Akatsuki. Chusa, a respected member of the council, voiced his agreement with Tsunade, arguing that abandoning Naruto would be an insult to everything Konoha stood for. Both Tsunade and Naruto felt a sense of relief knowing they had support in the room. However, Ashikaga Shin, the head of the merchant guild, vehemently opposed their stance. He had lost his daughter during the Kyuubi attack and harbored deep resentment towards Naruto, whom he viewed as a demon. His bias led to widespread discrimination against Naruto in the village, with many merchants either outright banning him or treating him poorly. The only exceptions were Ichiro Ramen and Mikumo ninja gear and weapons, both of which were known for their fair treatment of Naruto. As the debate continued, Inoichi, Ino's father, expressed his disapproval of the council's plan. He argued that handing Naruto over to the Akatsuki would be a grave mistake, potentially endangering not just Konoha but all the villages on the elemental continent. Koharu, unfazed by his concerns, reassured him that they had considered the possibility of the Akatsuki capturing Naruto. She claimed they had a plan in place that would neutralize the threat posed by the Akatsuki once Naruto was banished. Tsunade remained skeptical and demanded to know the details of this supposed plan. The atmosphere in the council chambers grew heavy with anticipation as everyone awaited Koharu's response, the fate of Naruto and the safety of Konoha hanging in the balance. Danzo, another influential member of the council, responded to Tsunade's outrage with a barely concealed smirk. He informed her that, due to the sensitive nature of their plan and her relationship with Naruto, they would only disclose the details when they deemed it appropriate. Tsunade's anger was palpable as she glared at Danzo, feeling powerless against the council's decision. Koharu then proposed a vote to determine Naruto's fate. The council members began casting their votes, each revealing their stance on the matter. Ashikaga Shin was the first to vote in favor of banishment, reflecting his deep-seated bias against Naruto. Inuzuka Tsume countered his vote, passionately arguing that Naruto deserved better treatment and highlighting his loyalty to the village. Hojo Akira, a self-serving civilian politician, cast his vote in favor of banishment, showing indifference to Naruto's struggles. Nara Shikaku, known for his laid-back demeanor, expressed his disapproval of the meeting and voted against the proposal, voicing his frustration with the proceedings. Akimichi Chuza also voted no, recalling how Naruto had been a friend to his son and emphasizing the importance of their bond. Yamanaka Inoichi, drawing from his insights into Naruto's mental state, voted against the banishment, believing that Naruto's struggles had made him more stable than many realized. Koharu and Danzo both voted in favor of the proposal, each citing their reasons without hesitation. Finally, Sarutobi Asuma cast his vote, reflecting on how Naruto had been regarded as family by his late mentor, expressing his disapproval of the council's actions. As the votes were tallied, the atmosphere in the room remained tense, with the fate of Naruto hanging precariously in the balance. The council chambers were thick with tension as each member prepared to cast their vote on Naruto's fate. One council member expressed his deep respect for Naruto, emphasizing the boy's importance to the village and his connections to the families of others present. He firmly opposed the banishment, knowing it would hurt not only Naruto but also the friendships he had formed. Ase Haida, a wealthy man who had suffered greatly during the Kyuubi's attack, was the first to cast his vote. He openly declared his support for the banishment, driven by personal bias against Naruto due to his losses. In contrast, Aburame Shibi voiced his disagreement, arguing that banishing Naruto would only serve to hand him over to the Akatsuki without a plan. He empathized with Naruto, recalling how his own clan had faced similar judgments for their burdens. Kurama Unkai, while sympathetic to Naruto's plight, ultimately voted for banishment, citing the potential danger Naruto posed to the village. He believed that despite Naruto's circumstances, the safety of Konoha had to come first. The Hokage, Senju Tsunade, strongly opposed the proposal, vowing not to allow the council to act out of hatred. Mitokado Hamura, although lacking personal animosity towards Naruto, felt compelled to vote in favor of banishment, influenced by the concerns raised by others. After casting his vote, he felt a wave of guilt wash over him as he caught a glimpse of Naruto's hurt expression. He silently regretted his decision, fearing it would haunt him. The ANBU commander echoed the sentiments of those who opposed the banishment, highlighting Naruto's past heroics and the risks of leaving him vulnerable to the Akatsuki. However, Amako Taichi, another council member who had suffered losses during the Kyuubi attack, voted for banishment, reflecting a personal bias against Naruto. As the votes were tallied, the outcome revealed a tie, with 8 votes for banishment and 8 against. The final decision rested with Hyuga Hayashi, the head of the Hyuga clan. After a PRD of contemplation, Hayashi announced his vote in favor of banishing Naruto, a decision that echoed through the chamber and sealed Naruto's fate. The weight of the decision settled heavily in the room. Naruto, once filled with dreams of becoming a great ninja and Hokage, felt those aspirations crumble in an instant. The thought of never seeing his friends again deepened his despair. Tsunade, the Godame Hokage, fought back tears, determined not to show weakness in front of those who had voted for Naruto's banishment. Her resolve mirrored the anger and sadness on the faces of those who opposed the decision. Tsume, in particular, was furious, glaring at Hayashi, while her partner Kuramaru growled in agreement. Hayashi, indifferent to the backlash, rationalized his vote. He believed that the village could not afford to harbor potential threats like Naruto, and perhaps his absence would allow Hinata to focus on her training and fulfill her role as a true Hyuga heiress. The ANBU commander and Aburame Shibi shook their heads in dismay, aware that this decision would have dire consequences. Chusa sighed, knowing the impact it would have on his son, while Shikaku found the situation frustrating. The civilian members of the council celebrated their perceived victory, while Danzo, Koharu, and Unkai maintained neutral expressions. Hamura and Inoichi lowered their heads in sorrow, recognizing the injustice of the decision. Asuma gazed out the window at the rain, reflecting on the sorrow that seemed to mirror the village's foolishness and the loss of those who had fought for it. Koharu then issued a harsh command for Naruto to be taken away, ordering that his chakra be sealed and a cursed seal placed on him to ensure he could not reveal any village secrets. The council's decision marked a turning point for Naruto, one that would alter the course of his life and the future of Konoha forever. The Nine Biju operative, who had appeared next to Naruto, vanished alongside him, leaving no trace behind. As they moved through the shadows, Naruto felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. He was on a mission that could change everything, and the weight of responsibility rested heavily on his shoulders. In the depths of his mind, he reflected on the allies he had gathered over time. Each one brought unique strengths and perspectives, forming a diverse group that complemented each other perfectly. Among them were powerful individuals like Uzumaki Namikaze, Kamisato Ayaka, and Orihime, each with their own skills and backgrounds. He also thought of Uzumaki Fu, Koki Kazahana, Cheyenne, and Shizuka, who had proven their loyalty and courage time and again. As they navigated through the hidden paths, Naruto's thoughts turned to Robin, Ai, Saisida Senju, Kiyomi Uchiha, Furina, and Yujito Ni. Each of these companions had faced their own challenges and had emerged stronger, ready to stand by his side in the face of adversity. The bond they shared was unbreakable, forged through trials and triumphs. The mission ahead was fraught with danger, but Naruto felt a surge of determination. He knew that with his friends by his side, they could overcome any obstacle. Together, they would confront the challenges that lay ahead, united in their purpose and unwavering in their resolve. 2 days later, as night fell over Konoha, a somber mood enveloped the village. Naruto, the young shinobi with dreams of becoming Hokage, was preparing to leave. His meager belongings were packed, ready for his departure the next day. A seal had been placed on him, causing discomfort in his throat, a constant reminder that he was forbidden from speaking about Konoha to outsiders. An hour earlier, his friends had visited to bid him farewell. The Godame Hokage, Tsunade, had intervened to prevent the council from announcing his banishment to the civilians and most of the ninja population until after his departure. She wanted to spare Naruto the scorn and ridicule of the villagers as he left. His friends were aware of his banishment only because Tsunade had permitted their parents to inform them, allowing them to say their goodbyes. Among his friends were Guy and Lee, who had vocally protested against the council's decision. They vowed to work twice as hard to keep their flames of youth burning bright. Lee, in particular, made a promise to bring Naruto back to Konoha one day, vowing that if he failed, he would run to Suna 100 times. Naruto found humor in Lee's vow. Despite Lee's eccentricities, he was a loyal friend whom Naruto could always count on. They shared many similarities. Both were orphans, considered odd in their ways, determined, and never gave up, no matter how tough things got. They were at the bottom of their class but held on to dreams they were striving to achieve. Naruto asked Lee to do him a favor, requesting that he promise to accomplish his dream and prove that even those who start at the bottom can become great ninjas. Lee enthusiastically affirmed his commitment, declaring that his flames of youth still shone brightly and that he would become a great ninja. Niji visited next, expressing his condolences and sharing his disappointment over the council's actions. He mentioned that all the respect he had recently gained for his uncle had vanished. He wished Naruto luck and informed him that Hinata had been forbidden by her father to say goodbye. Naruto felt sympathetic for Hinata, recognizing the burden of having a father like Hayashi. Tenten also came by, expressing her anger and frustration over Naruto's banishment. She shared how her family had treated Naruto with kindness over the years, unlike many others in Konoha. Tenten presented Naruto with a set of silver kunai as a parting gift, leaving him genuinely touched by her family's generosity. Kurenai arrived next, offering her sympathy and a bento box made by Hinata. Naruto expressed his gratitude and asked Kurenai to thank Hinata on his behalf. When Kiba and the others arrived, Kiba ranted about the council's foolishness, which made Naruto laugh. Shino offered his condolences as well, and Naruto noticed that Shino's left eyebrow twitched in annoyance whenever the council was mentioned. Shikamaru, Asuma, and Choji joined the farewell, along with Konohamaru, Moegi, and Udon. Konohamaru was particularly upset about Naruto's banishment. Naruto gifted him his leaf headband as a keepsake, encouraging him to wear it when he became Hokage, symbolizing their shared dream. Konohamaru boldly declared that once he became Hokage, he would disband the council that had banished Naruto and bring him back to Konoha. This declaration amused Naruto, who encouraged Konohamaru to hurry and achieve his goal. Udon and Moegi tearfully apologized for their grandparents' actions that contributed to Naruto's banishment, but Naruto reassured them with a smile that they had nothing to apologize for. Shikamaru wished him luck and advised him to avoid troublesome situations, to which Naruto responded with a smirk, promising to do his best. Choji presented Naruto with a pie made by his mother, and Naruto expressed his gratitude, recalling her kindness and excellent cooking. Asuma, a mentor to Naruto, expressed regret over his inability to prevent the council's decision but received thanks from Naruto for his efforts. Tuchi and Ayam, the father-daughter duo who ran Naruto's favorite ramen shop, arrived with indignation. Tuchi vowed to seek revenge on Ashikaga Shin, a man who had wronged Naruto, while Ayam kissed Naruto on the head, causing him to blush. They gifted him several cups of instant ramen and served him a large bowl of ramen as his last meal in the village. The emotional farewell peaked with the arrival of Iruka, Naruto's former teacher. Iruka was furious about the council's decision and ranted about their foolishness, even contemplating confronting them at their next meeting. The thought of Iruka using his scary big head jutsu on the council members brought a moment of levity to the otherwise somber occasion. Iruka expressed how much he would miss Naruto, advised him to take care of himself, and embraced him like a father. As Naruto prepared to leave Konoha, he noticed the absence of a few familiar faces. Ino, Sakura, Sasuke, and Kakashi had not come to bid him farewell. Asuma explained that Ino had gone to tend to the injured Sasuke, who was still in the hospital. Kurenai added that Sakura was with Sasuke, and Kakashi would visit him. Naruto felt indifferent to their absence, understanding their priorities. When questioned about his lack of reaction, Naruto shared his experiences with the others. He recounted the incident at the bridge with Sakura and how Kakashi's training focused solely on tree walking and teamwork exercises. He revealed that he had witnessed Kakashi teaching Sasuke various flame jutsu, including the Chidori, while Sakura was trained in Genjutsu. Naruto showed them the scars left by Sasuke's Chidori, a stark reminder of the dangers he had faced. It was nothing short of a miracle that he had survived. Asuma and Kurenai felt disheartened by Kakashi's obvious favoritism, leading to a decline in their respect for the copycat ninja. Guy found himself at a loss for words, struggling to express his disappointment in his rival. Once everyone had departed, Naruto found himself alone, gazing out the window. He sensed the presence of the Nine Biju, even though he could neither see nor feel them. As he looked outside, he reflected on his life in Konoha. While there were a few cherished memories, many negative experiences overshadowed them. In that moment, Naruto realized there was something crucial he needed to uncover before leaving Konoha for good. Naruto had always been curious about his parents. When he approached Sandaime for answers, the older man feigned ignorance. However, Naruto was convinced that he was not being truthful. He had also sought information from Tsunade and Jiraiya, but they too claimed to know nothing. Once again, Naruto sensed their dishonesty. He knew that Tsunade was not a skilled liar, and if she had knowledge of his parents, then Jiraiya must have known as well. Determined to uncover the truth, Naruto retrieved a life-sized papier-mâché doll he had crafted years earlier. He had designed it as a decoy to protect himself in case anyone attempted to attack him while he slept. He slipped out through a secret hatch beneath his bed, a quick escape route he had devised to leave his apartment unnoticed. Once outside, Naruto stealthily made his way toward the Hokage Tower. Despite having his chakra sealed, he remained an expert in infiltration and stealth. After all, how else could a boy dressed in bright orange manage to sneak into the Hokage's tower and steal a scroll of forbidden jutsu? With unwavering determination, Naruto was resolved to uncover the truth about his parents and would not allow anything to hinder his quest. After an hour of diligent searching in the Hokage's office, Naruto finally discovered a hidden compartment within the Hokage's desk. The compartment was secured with a combination lock, which took him another half-hour to crack. The code turned out to be the date Konoha was founded, a detail that underscored the importance of the contents within. Inside the compartment lay several scrolls and documents, presumably holding significant and confidential information. Among these, Naruto found a document concerning his parents. The revelations within this document were shocking and infuriating, forcing him to physically restrain himself from expressing his rage. The truth about his parents, which he had sought for so long, had finally come to light, but it was far from the closure he had hoped for. It was a moment of bitter realization, a harsh truth he had to confront. The surging emotions within him reflected the gravity of the revelations he had just uncovered. He felt betrayed by those he trusted, realizing that they had concealed the truth from him. He was the son of the Yondaime Hokage, and they had denied him the knowledge of his heritage and wealth. The discovery of his family's fortune was a revelation that shook him to his core. The documents revealed that his family was among the wealthiest in Konoha, even richer than the Ase and Amako families combined. This wealth did not even account for the inheritance from his mother, the heiress of the Uzumaki clan of Uzushiogakure, which had collapsed after the Second Great Shinobi War. The combined fortunes of his parents placed him on par with Gato, making him one of the wealthiest individuals in the entire elemental continent. The realization that he had been living a life of scarcity while a vast fortune rightfully belonging to him lay untouched was infuriating. The village had withheld his inheritance, denied him the knowledge of his family and their name, and relegated him to a subpar apartment when he was the rightful owner of a large estate. Adding to his anger were two bitter truths. His father had been responsible for sealing the Kyuubi inside him, leading to a life of hardship, and Jiraiya, his godfather, had failed to care for him. Amid his anger and frustration, Naruto opened a scroll containing a hastily written letter from his father, the Yondaime. The messy handwriting indicated it had been written in haste, presumably before the Kyuubi was sealed into him. The contents of this letter promised to shed more light on the circumstances of his past. His father expressed that if Naruto was reading the letter, it meant that Sarutobi, the third Hokage, had deemed him ready to uncover the truth about his origins. He revealed that he was the son of the fourth Hokage, Namikaze Minato. The letter detailed a fierce battle against the Kyuubi that was underway, and the father acknowledged the possibility of not surviving the encounter. He shared that Naruto's mother, Kushina, had tragically passed away due to complications during his BRH. His father conveyed their unconditional love for him and their regret for not being there to witness his growth. They left behind everything they owned for him. The letter explained that the decision to seal the Kyuubi inside him was made because his father could not bear to ask another family to make such a monumental sacrifice. He hoped that Naruto would harness the power of the Kyuubi to protect their village and grow to love Konoha as much as he did. As the letter concluded, his father expressed understanding if Naruto harbored resentment towards him for the life he had chosen. Yet, he emphasized that his love for Naruto was unwavering and eternal, wishing him a life filled with happiness and longevity. Naruto felt a mix of anger and sadness as he processed his father's words. He carefully placed the letter aside and unrolled another scroll, which contained a heartfelt letter from his mother. As he read through her words, small tears began to fall from his eyes. With a determined look on his face, he made a solemn vow to his parents that he would not let them down and would restore their family's legacy. After finishing the letters, Naruto quickly resealed them in the scrolls and returned everything to the hidden compartment. These were just copies, according to his mother's letter. The originals and several other essential scrolls were safely stored at his family estate. His resolve was stronger than ever. He was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. After a 30-minute journey, Naruto found himself standing in front of an estate that was now his. The sight was overwhelming. The mansion was colossal, towering 4 stories high, surrounded by expansive gardens. It was so large that it could easily accommodate up to 200 people. He felt a mix of pride and bitterness, realizing he owned all this while Konoha had placed him in a rundown apartment. With a swift cut of his finger, he smeared his blood on the seal of the gate, causing it to open. He stepped into the courtyard and made his way into the mansion. Inside, he was greeted by a vast hallway and quickly began his search for the library and the desk his mother had mentioned in her letter. After some searching, he found a locked door with another seal. Using more of his blood, he unlocked it, revealing a massive room filled with scrolls of various kinds. However, he didn't linger there. He went straight to the desk, opened a drawer, and spread more of his blood on another seal. A secret compartment revealed itself. Inside the compartment, he found the 8 scrolls mentioned in his mother's letter. After retrieving these, Naruto decided to take a few more scrolls that he thought might be useful later. He chose several on taijutsu, a few on kenjutsu, and some on sealing. Given his inability to use chakra, Naruto realized he needed to find alternative ways to defend himself. After collecting the scrolls, he resealed the library door and the main gate, ensuring that no one could access the estate until his return. As he left, he made a solemn vow to reclaim what was rightfully his, no matter the cost. Naruto's return to his apartment was swift and unnoticed, showcasing his skills in stealth. He had chosen to leave immediately, unwilling to give the council members who had wronged him the satisfaction of his expulsion. His resolve was unwavering, driven by a mix of resentment and determination. He quickly gathered his belongings, efficiently stuffing essentials into his backpack. His movements were purposeful, reflecting his readiness to embark on this new journey. Among the items he packed were mementos of his past, reminders of the life he was leaving behind, alongside tools for the uncertain future that awaited him. Before disappearing through the hatch door, a secret escape route he had devised for situations like this, he paused for a moment. In a final act of defiance, he scribbled a quick message on paper. This note, left on his kitchen table, was intended for anyone who might venture into his apartment after his departure. It served as a silent testament to his presence, a final word left behind in the place he once called home. As Naruto slipped into the night, he remained unaware of how close he had come to encountering a late-night visitor. Their paths might have crossed if he had lingered for just 2 minutes longer. However, fate had different plans, and Naruto was already on his way, stepping into the unknown with a vow to reclaim what was rightfully his. His departure marked the end of an era and the beginning of a new chapter in his life, filled with promises, challenges, and the relentless pursuit of justice. His journey had just begun. Hinata, the young heiress of the Hyuga clan, was engulfed in distress. The news of Naruto's banishment by the council had struck her deeply, especially since he was someone she held in high regard. The fact that her father had cast the deciding vote against Naruto only intensified her anguish. Her father's reasoning, that Naruto posed a threat to the village's safety and that she would eventually understand, did little to ease her pain. He urged her to forget about Naruto and concentrate on Stringjuken, preparing to assume the role of clan head, warning her of the consequences of becoming a branch member otherwise. However, Hinata's priorities lay elsewhere. The prospect of becoming clan head or the fear of being relegated to a branch member held no significance for her. All she yearned for was for Naruto to remain in the village. The inability to say goodbye to him, a decision imposed by her father, weighed heavily on her heart. Earlier, she had asked her sensei, Kurenai, to deliver a bento she had prepared for Naruto. As her tears began to subside, Hinata gazed at the night sky, a sense of determination washing over her. She recognized what she needed to do. Despite the circumstances, her feelings for Naruto and her longing to do what was right fueled her resolve. The path ahead was uncertain, but Hinata was prepared to confront whatever challenges lay in her way. She resolved to be strong, vowing that if the village was going to force Naruto out, she would not let him go without expressing her true feelings for him. This might be her last opportunity. Silently, Hinata slipped out of the compound and made her way to Naruto's apartment. Upon arriving at Naruto's apartment, Hinata felt a heavy weight in her chest. She knocked on the door, but there was no response. Her anxiety grew, and she knocked again, yet silence continued to greet her. In a moment of desperation, she activated her Byakugan, the unique visual jutsu of her clan, to check if Naruto was inside. She spotted a figure resembling him sleeping in his bed, but as she prepared to knock again, she noticed something was off. The figure lacked chakra pathways, indicating it was not Naruto. Panic surged through her as she broke down the door and rushed inside, only to discover a life-size doll made of papier-mâché in Naruto's bed. The realization that Naruto was not there hit her like a wave. She searched the apartment frantically for any sign of him and eventually found a note he had left behind. As she read the note, the reality of Naruto's departure sank in, overwhelming her with sorrow. She collapsed to the floor, tears streaming down her face. The apartment, once vibrant with Naruto's presence, now felt empty, a stark reminder of the friend she had lost. Meanwhile, Tsunade, the legendary Sannin and a figure of immense strength, sat alone in a corner of a sake bar, surrounded by empty bottles. She had been there for hours, attempting to drown her sorrows over Naruto's banishment, who she considered a surrogate little brother. As she slurred a request for another bottle, a familiar voice interjected, urging her to stop drinking. It was Shizune, Tsunade's loyal apprentice. Tsunade turned to her, irritation etched on her face, questioning why Shizune was interfering with her attempt to escape her pain. Shizune stood firm, reminding Tsunade of the losses they had endured together, insisting that she would not allow her to spiral into despair over Naruto. She took Tsunade by the arm and led her outside into the night. As they walked, Shizune attempted to reason with her mentor, suggesting that a bit of fresh air might clear her head and help her see her selfishness. Tsunade, however, was not receptive to Shizune's words. Frustrated, she retorted sharply, prompting Shizune to take an unexpected action. Gathering her courage, Shizune slapped Tsunade across the face, the sound echoing in the quiet street. Tsunade was taken aback, her hand instinctively going to her reddened cheek, shocked by Shizune's boldness. As Shizune continued, she reminded Tsunade of her position as the leader of the strongest military power in the elemental nations. She pointed out that despite her efforts to stop Naruto's banishment, she had not even gone to see him. With the dawn approaching, Naruto would be leaving the village for good. Shizune urged Tsunade to consider how Naruto must feel, having endured so much in the village only to be cast out from the only home he had ever known. She emphasized that he would soon be hunted by the Akatsuki, who sought to extract the Kyuubi from him. Tsunade stood frozen, still processing Shizune's words. After a moment, she collapsed to the ground, tears flowing freely. The weight of Shizune's admonition struck her harder than any physical blow. She lamented the losses she had suffered, feeling overwhelmed by the village's tendency to take away those she cared about. Shizune, understanding the depth of Tsunade's pain, helped her to her feet and encouraged her to go to Naruto. It was time to confront the reality of their situation and offer support to the one who needed it most. Tsunade felt a sense of urgency as she realized that Naruto needed someone to talk to and support him during this difficult time. She nodded in agreement with Shizune, and together they made their way to Naruto's apartment. As they walked, Tsunade expressed her gratitude to Shizune, acknowledging how much she appreciated having someone to help her regain her focus. Shizune, with a playful smirk, admitted that she enjoyed the role of being the one to bring Tsunade back to her senses. Tsunade reflected on the trouble she had caused over the years but felt grateful that Shizune remained by her side. Their bond was strong, and Shizune reassured Tsunade of her unwavering support. Narumeanwhile, the dynamics of Naruto's relationships were evolving, with a growing HRM that included several notable figures. Among them were Uzumaki Namikaze, Kusanali, Kamisato Ayaka, Orihime, Uzumaki Fo, Kuki Kazahana, Shion, Shizuka, Robin, Saisida Senju, Kiyomi Achiha, Rin Achiha, Furina, and Yujito Ni, among others. As they approached Naruto's home, both women felt a renewed sense of purpose, ready to provide the support he needed. Upon reaching Naruto's apartment, Tsunade and Shizune encountered a scene of chaos. The door had been broken down, and the sound of crying echoed through the stillness of the night. They rushed inside, turning on the lights to find Hinata, the young Hyuga heiress, sobbing uncontrollably on the floor next to the small kitchen table. A lifelike papier-mâché figure of Naruto lay on the floor beside his bed, a poignant reminder of the friend they had lost. Tsunade quickly moved to comfort Hinata, kneeling beside the distraught girl. Concern filled her voice as she asked about Naruto, but Hinata could only cling to Tsunade's robe, burying her face in her chest as her sobs grew louder. As Tsunade tried to soothe Hinata, she noticed a crumpled piece of paper on the floor. Picking it up, She realized it was a note from Naruto. Reading it brought tears to her eyes, as the pain in Naruto's words was palpable. Tsunade couldn't help but join Hinata in her grief, holding the young girl close for comfort. Shizune, witnessing the heart-wrenching scene, picked up the piece of paper that Tsunade had dropped. Reading Naruto's note, she felt a wave of sadness wash over her. To her, Naruto was like a younger brother, and now he was alone and in pain. Although she felt the urge to join Tsunade and Hinata in their tears, she knew that this was not the time for sorrow. Instead, she steeled herself, understanding that they needed to be strong for Naruto. The sudden appearance of the Nine Biju squad, assigned to watch over Naruto, added a new layer of complexity to the situation. They had been observing from the shadows, aware of Hinata's feelings for Naruto. Her frequent spying on him and her tendency to faint whenever she tried to talk to him had become a running joke among the Nine Biju squads. Some even had a betting pool on when she would finally gather the courage to confess her feelings or when Naruto would notice her affection. The Nine Biju division had been informed of Naruto's banishment due to its role in village security, but they were sworn to secrecy until Naruto left the village. Like most of the Nine Biju division, the squad disagreed with the council's decision. They knew Naruto was not the QB and understood the intricacies involved in the Yondaime seal. They had watched over Naruto long enough to see him as a young boy carrying a heavy burden. When they saw Hinata break into Naruto's apartment and heard her crying, they grew concerned. They were about to intervene, but the arrival of the Hokage and Shizune made them hold back. Hearing the Hokage crying alongside Hinata prompted them to step in and investigate, as the situation was escalating. The leader of the Nine Biju squad, wearing a bear mask, inquired about what had happened and where Naruto was. Shizune informed him that Naruto was gone. The Nine Biju captain expressed surprise, stating that his squad had been watching Naruto's apartment the entire time and had not seen him leave. Shizune explained that they had likely seen the life-size papier-mâché figure of Naruto on the floor instead. She added that Naruto probably had a secret escape hatch, knowing how resourceful he could be. The Nine Biju nodded in agreement. The captain then asked if they should search for him. Shizune dismissed the idea, stating that Naruto was likely long gone and that bringing him back would only lead to a spectacle in front of the village the next day. The Nine Biju squad agreed, not wanting to witness such an event. Shizune ordered them to leave, and they complied. As they departed, she looked up at the night sky, wondering where Naruto was and hoping he would be safe. She then returned to the two weeping women, trying to comfort them. As she did, she placed Naruto's note on the kitchen table, where only one word was written, "Goodbye." Outside Konoha, a lone figure stood on a hill overlooking the village for the last time. Naruto reflected on how his old life in Konoha was over and a new one would begin outside it. He vowed in the name of his mother, Uzumaki Kushina, and his father, Minato Namikaze, that he would become strong, stronger than anyone had ever been. He promised that when he did, Konoha would regret banishing him. Naruto's journey was a lonely one, filled with uncertainty and fear. He had left Konoha, the village he had once called home, without a clear destination. Initially, he felt drawn to Suna, the town of his friend Gaara, but he knew that his presence there would only bring trouble. The failed invasion of Konoha had left Suna in a state of humiliation, and Naruto, being one of the reasons for that failure, was unsure of his welcome. Moreover, his presence would attract the Akatsuki, a group of rogue ninja, to Suna. Gaara, like Naruto, was a Jinchuriki, but unlike Naruto, he could use his chakra to defend himself and his village. Naruto also considered going to Ki, the village of his friend Shibuki, but his presence there could jeopardize their crucial alliance with Konoha. Another place that came to mind was Haruyuki no Kuni, where he believed Lady Koyuki would welcome him. However, the distance was daunting and he lacked the means to get there. Without enough money for a ship and unable to travel on foot, Naruto faced an uncertain future as he walked away into the night. Naruto was acutely aware that no matter where he went, the Akatsuki would eventually find him. They were relentless in their pursuit, and he feared for the safety of the people he cared about. This harsh reality weighed heavily on him as he contemplated his options. He considered joining another ninja village that had no ties to Konoha, a place that might help him remove the seals placed upon him and offer protection in exchange for his allegiance. However, even if he found such a village, the choices were limited. Smaller villages like Aim, Kusa, and Hoshi could have provided some strength, but they were not ideal. Aligning himself with one of the 5 major shinobi villages was crucial for his survival against an Akatsuki attack. Kiri was out of the question due to the civil war he had learned about during his encounter with Haku, as well as the treatment of those with bloodlines in that village. IWA was equally unacceptable. If they discovered his true identity or the identity of his parents, he would face immediate execution. Kumo was the last option, but Naruto hesitated. His knowledge of the village was limited, primarily shaped by Niji's account of their attempt to abduct Hinata and another failed kidnapping during the Suna and Odo invasion. Given these experiences, Naruto's impression of Kumo was far from favorable. Ultimately, he resolved to venture out on his own, determined to find a way to remove the seals and continue his training with the scrolls he had taken from home. In the midst of a heavy rainstorm, Naruto found himself in a dense forest, desperately searching for shelter. He had run out of food several days prior and had been unsuccessful in his attempts to hunt. Fearful of being spotted by the Akatsuki or their agents, he avoided towns. Exhausted and weak from hunger, he eventually collapsed onto the wet ground. As he lay there, a sense of despair washed over him. He thought about how this was not the ending he had envisioned for himself, but he reminded himself that it could be worse. Just as he felt himself slipping into unconsciousness, he fought to stay awake, determined to accomplish his goals. He refused to give up, despite his weakened state. As he drifted in and out of consciousness, he heard the faint chiming of tiny bells. Struggling to focus, he looked up and saw 2 figures approaching him. Despite the darkness, he noted 2 significant details. Both figures wore conical straw hats adorned with small spike-like ball that obscured their faces, and they were cloaked in dark garments with high collars that concealed their identities. A single word resonated in his mind as he succumbed to unconsciousness: Akatsuki. They had found him. Naruto found himself in the midst of a forest, caught in the grip of a heavy rainstorm. He sought shelter from the relentless downpour, feeling disoriented and unsure of his location. Days had passed since he had last eaten, and his attempts at hunting had yielded no results. The thought of venturing into town for food filled him with dread, as he feared being recognized by any members of the Akatsuki or their agents, who he was certain were aware of his absence from Konoha and his vulnerability. As fatigue overwhelmed him, Naruto collapsed onto the wet ground, his body weak from hunger. He reflected on his dire situation, realizing that this was not the end he had envisioned for himself, yet he felt a flicker of determination. He reminded himself of his goals and resolved not to give up, even as he struggled to rise but fell back to the ground. In and out of consciousness, he heard the faint sound of bells chiming. When he managed to look up, he saw 2 figures approaching through the rain. Despite the darkness, he noted that both wore conical straw hats with small spikes hanging down to obscure their faces and dark cloaks with high collars that concealed their identities. Panic surged within him as he recognized them as members of the Akatsuki. Naruto's senses gradually returned as he regained consciousness. The soft murmur of voices surrounded him, and he could discern a female voice among them, indicating the presence of at least 2 individuals nearby. When he opened his eyes, he found himself beneath a rough cave ceiling, illuminated by the flickering flames of a nearby fire. The warmth from the fire contrasted with the coolness of the cave floor, providing a sense of comfort. A coarse blanket covered him, shielding him from the chill. He wondered who had rescued him and what their intentions were. Memories of his collapse flooded back, and he instinctively jumped up, startled by the realization of what had happened. As he sat up, he noticed 3 figures seated across from him, all of whom turned to face him. The first was a tall, elderly man with an attractive face, round glasses, and a distinctive arrangement of facial hair. His neatly cut strawberry blonde hair was tied in a loose ponytail, and a long scar marked his right eye. He wore a simple t-shirt, shorts, and sandals, along with white shinobi breaths and silver knee pads. A silver coat draped over his armor, and despite his unassuming attire, he exuded strength, with a long katana at his side. The second figure was a kunoichi, embodying a blend of elegance and strength. She had a lean, muscular build, fair skin that contrasted with her dark shinobi attire, and long, straight jet black hair often tied in a high ponytail. Her deep blue eyes sparkled with determination and intelligence. The third figure was a young boy with white hair, appearing to be around Naruto's age but slightly taller. He wore a black sleeveless shirt over a fishnet vest, black shinobi breathes, and simple sandals. His long white hair fell to his shoulders, parted to reveal clear blue eyes. A green sash held a long sword that seemed too large for him. Naruto's panic surged as he realized he was only in his shorts beneath the blanket. He questioned where he was and who these people were, fearing they might be affiliated with the Akatsuki. The young man in silver armor spoke calmly, assuring Naruto that he was safe and among friends. The elderly man introduced himself as Rayleigh, mentioning that the woman beside him was his wife, Rinji, and the boy was their student, Anasu. Naruto inquired about how he had ended up in the cave, recalling only his collapse. Rayleigh explained that he and Rinji had found Naruto while returning from a nearby village. They had decided to bring him back to their cave and nurse him back to health. Naruto realized that these were the very figures he had seen in straw hats and cloaks, but they were not the Akatsuki. Their attire lacked the ominous red cloud design. It was an easy mistake to make, especially from a distance in the dark. Naruto, realizing it was night outside, wondered how long he had been unconscious. Anasu informed him that he had been out for about 3 days, which surprised him. Once he processed the information, he felt a sense of gratitude toward the group that had helped him, though he remained cautious and alert, still unsure of their intentions. After expressing his thanks, Naruto inquired about his clothes. Rinji explained that she had removed his wet clothing to prevent him from catching a cold. This revelation caused Naruto to blush with embarrassment, as Rinji was the first female to see him in such a vulnerable state. Rinji noticed his reaction and smirked, amused by his discomfort. Naruto's embarrassment continued when his stomach growled, reminding him of his hunger. The 3 members of the group exchanged amused glances, and Rayleigh promptly served him a bowl of hot soup from a pot over the fire. Naruto eagerly devoured the soup, finding it delicious and comforting after going so long without food. Half an hour later, having consumed 8 bowls of soup, several loaves of bread, and various pieces of meat and fruit, he finally felt satisfied and thanked Rayleigh and the others. Once he was dressed and had eaten, Rinji asked him about his background, noting the shinobi tools and scrolls found in his belongings. Realizing he had not introduced himself, Naruto stated his name, Uzumaki Naruto, but immediately regretted it. He had hoped to keep a low profile, uncertain if he could trust the group, especially given the possibility that they might be associated with Akatsuki. Rayleigh, recognizing Naruto's hesitation, pointed out that it was unusual for someone his age to be on a mission alone, especially without a headband. Annoyed, Naruto insisted that he could take care of himself, having been independent for most of his life. Rayleigh clarified that he meant no offense, merely noting the oddity of Naruto's situation. When Naruto revealed that he had been forced to leave his village, he spoke softly, looking down at the ground. Anasu inquired if he had done something wrong, to which Naruto replied that he had done nothing but exist, muttering the last part so quietly that it was barely audible. Rinji pressed for more information about his banishment, but Naruto remained silent, the painful memories still fresh in his mind. The seal placed on him by Danzo further complicated his ability to discuss Konoha, and after being betrayed by his village, he was hesitant to trust anyone. Noticing Naruto's reluctance to discuss his past, Rinji decided to change the subject. However, Rayleigh, who had been quietly contemplating a photograph in his hand, suddenly spoke up. He asked Naruto if he was from Konoha and if his banishment was related to being the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Yoko. This revelation shocked Naruto, who stood up in fear, convinced that his saviors were connected to the very group he was fleeing from. In a defensive stance, Naruto demanded to know how Rayleigh had come to that conclusion. Rayleigh explained that it was simple deduction, although he had not been certain until now. Confused, Naruto struggled to understand how Rayleigh had made the connection. Rayleigh then held up the photograph, which showed a young Naruto smiling alongside Ayame and Tsuchi in front of Ichiraku's stand. Naruto had taken the photo with him when he left Konoha, as it reminded him of the good times he had experienced there. Rayleigh pointed out a detail in the photograph, indicating the Hokage monument visible in the corner. As Naruto and the others examined the picture closely, they could see the heads of the Shodame and Nidame Hokages. Naruto remained puzzled about how Rayleigh had deduced his status as the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Rayleigh explained that Naruto's earlier question about Akatsuki had given him a clue, as it suggested a fear of the organization that was well known for targeting Jinchuriki. The group consisted of 9 S-class rogue ninjas who were after Jinchuriki, specifically the Biju that resided within them, like Naruto. It was understandable why Naruto feared them so much. Rayleigh had deduced that Naruto possessed the Kyuubi, the only Biju associated with Konoha, which had attacked the village over 12 years ago and had remained free until that point. Naruto stared at Rayleigh in awe, unable to believe that he had figured out so much just from a photograph and a mention of the Akatsuki. He thought to himself that Rayleigh might even be smarter than Shikamaru. Rinji, with a knowing smile, shook her head in amusement and assured Naruto that he hadn't seen anything yet. Rayleigh then expressed confusion over why Naruto had been banished. He noted that shinobi villages typically regarded Jinchuriki as valuable assets, so it seemed foolish for Konoha to exile Naruto, especially since it could weaken the village and make it vulnerable to attacks from other shinobi villages. Hearing this, Naruto felt anger rise within him as he realized that some people in his village viewed him merely as a weapon to be used. After a moment of silence, Rinji asked Naruto why he had been banished. Initially hesitant, Naruto decided to share the truth since they already knew he was a Jinchuriki. He explained that some members of the Konoha Council had used a law to overrule the Hokage and banish him. They feared that the Akatsuki would target Konoha to capture him, especially after the village had been weakened by a recent invasion. In their misguided attempt to protect the village, they believed that banishing him would deter the Akatsuki and allow Konoha to rebuild. Rayleigh and Rinji nodded in understanding, having heard about the recent attacks on Konoha. They were baffled by the council's reasoning, recognizing that the loss of Naruto would only further weaken the village. After a few moments, Naruto shifted the conversation to inquire about Rayleigh and his companions, curious about their backgrounds. They revealed that they were from Kirigakure no Sato, the village hidden in the mist, and like Naruto, they had been forced to leave their home. Rayleigh had once been the leader of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the Hidden Mist, known as the Dark King. Rinji explained that they had fled due to the people's hatred of her bloodline, as she was the last of her clan, just like Anasu, her student. Naruto was surprised to learn that they were from the same village as Haku and Zabuza. He realized they were missing ninjas who had escaped the bloodline purge in Kirigakure. When Rayleigh expressed mild surprise at Naruto's knowledge of the bloodline purge, Naruto admitted he had heard about it from a friend. He then asked about their bloodlines. Rinji explained that her bloodline, the Mist Weaver, allowed her to weave illusions into the mist. Anasu shared that he possessed the Hayatan bloodline, which enabled him to combine his wind and water affinities to create ice ninjutsu. Naruto's eyes widened in shock, recalling Haku's abilities. Anasu, intrigued, asked if Naruto meant the same Haku who had served Zabuza. When Naruto confirmed this, Anasu's expression darkened. He approached Naruto, demanding to know how he had met Haku. Naruto explained that he had encountered Haku during his first mission outside Konoha. Anasu's anger escalated as he accused Naruto of killing Haku. Alarmed, Naruto denied the accusation. Anasu pressed for the truth, and Naruto revealed that his sensei, Hatake Kakashi, had fought Zabuza while he and his teammate, Uchiha Sasuke, faced Haku. During the battle, Naruto had used the Kyuubi's chakra but had refused to kill Haku, considering him a friend. Tragically, Haku had jumped in front of Zabuza to protect him when he saw that Zabuza was about to be defeated. As Anasu listened, his anger began to dissipate. He released Naruto from his grip when Rayleigh placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder, signaling that there was more to understand in this complex situation. Anasu finally released Naruto, who walked over to the fire and settled next to Ranji. She comforted him with a gentle embrace, assuring him that everything would be all right. Rayleigh approached and helped Naruto to his feet, expressing his apologies for Anisu's emotional outburst regarding Haku. Naruto inquired about Anisu's connection to Haku, and Rayleigh explained that Haku and Zabuza had left the hidden mist village before Anisu and his family went into hiding during the bloodline purges. Unfortunately, the bloodline hunters, known as Rinji, discovered Anisu's family, leading to a tragic encounter where both of his parents were killed before his eyes. After dealing with the hunters, Rayleigh and his companions decided to take Anisu under their wing as a student. When they later informed him about Haku, Anisu expressed a longing to find him, as Haku was the only family he had left. However, the events in the Land of Waves ultimately left Anisu as the last surviving member of his clan. Hearing this story, Naruto felt a pang of guilt, believing he bore some responsibility for Haku's fate. He empathized with Anisu's longing for family, having grown up without knowing his own parents. As the tension eased, Rayleigh suggested they all get some rest and continue their discussions the following day. Everyone agreed, finding comfortable spots on the ground to sleep. The next morning, after breakfast, Naruto observed as Rayleigh and Rinji trained Anisu in the use of his katana, named Ryujin Kori, an important heirloom of his clan. Despite their earlier tensions, Anisu began to warm up to Naruto, especially after Naruto expressed his condolences for Haku. Anisu was initially taken aback by Naruto's sincerity but soon thanked him and apologized for his previous behavior. He then asked Naruto to share stories about Haku, which Naruto was eager to do. As he watched the training session, Naruto felt a mix of frustration and anger. With his chakra sealed, his aspirations to fulfill his mother's wishes seemed increasingly out of reach. In a flashback to Konoha, Naruto sat in the Hokage's office, reflecting on a letter from his father. He opened another scroll, this one from his mother, which revealed her heartfelt thoughts. She expressed her love for him and shared the circumstances surrounding her death, whether due to an unforeseen incident or complications during childbirth. She recounted her happiest moments during her Jinsui and reassured him of her enduring love even in death. She also conveyed the importance of understanding his heritage and the dreams that had been held by their clan for generations. Naruto learned that his mother was not originally from Konoha but from a powerful shinobi village called Uzushiogakure, founded by the Uzumaki clan. She explained the historical ties between Uzushiogakure and Konoha, emphasizing the alliance forged through shared ancestry and the bonds between their clans. The Uzumaki clan was renowned for their mastery of sealing techniques and longevity, but their true identity remained hidden from the world. Long before the establishment of the shinobi villages, clans fought for Dems, and the Uzumaki clan was known only by a different name, the Gojo clan. This name was a reflection of their secretive nature, even to their allies. The clan's origins were traced back to a powerful kunoichi named Senju Kariai and Satoru Gojo, who founded the Uzumaki clan after leaving the Senju clan to escape the ongoing feud with the Uchiha clan. Kariai discovered her unique bloodline, a transcendent ability that surpassed others, reminiscent of the legendary Rinnegan. This bloodline allowed her to manipulate space, earning her the title of Goddess of the Heavens and a fearsome reputation throughout the shinobi world. Through her legacy, Naruto began to understand the weight of his heritage and the expectations that came with it, fueling his determination to honor his family's history and fulfill his own dreams. This ability, which Kariai later named Limitless, was a testament to her unparalleled control and mastery. The true extent of her bloodline was revealed when she perfected this technique. It was so powerful that it rendered her untouchable. Eventually, Satoru and Kariai married and established the Uzumaki clan in the Land of Whirlpool. Satoru, a member of the main branch of the Otsutsuki clan, possessed a unique bloodline that allowed him to bypass the infinity of Kariai's limitless technique, making him one of the strongest shinobi in the world. One of their children began to exhibit a new dojutsu known as the Six Eyes. As time passed, the fame and power of the Gojo clan grew, making them a target for many rival shinobi clans that either feared their strength or sought to claim it for themselves. Although they often triumphed over their enemies, the attacks continued. Eventually, the Akuma clan discovered their true identity and attempted to invade their home. However, before this could occur, Kariai and Satoru, despite being in their late 90s, launched a counterattack on the Akuma clan's island homeland. At the cost of their own lives, they unleashed their full power to obliterate the Akuma clan's nation, Tsunami no Kuni, leaving no trace behind. As time went on, only a select few members of the clan demonstrated the ability to fully utilize the limitless technique. Meanwhile, others began to combine their elemental affinities to create new sub-elemental jutsu, such as ice release and storm release. Some even learned to enhance their singular elemental affinities to extraordinary levels, similar to those with the Crying Thunder Pulse bloodline. These members eventually broke away from the main clan to form their own clans, some of which perished or were destroyed, while others, like the Amako, Yatsuki, and Seiwa clans, rose to prominence. At this point in the clan's history, the last surviving descendants of the Akuma clan launched an attack on the clan's fortress. However, it was later revealed that this assault was merely a distraction, allowing the surviving Akuma members to place a large-scale seal around the fortress. Aware that they could not defeat the Gojo clan in battle, they sought revenge by imposing a genetic seal that prevented any clan members from using their bloodline, including future generations. Upon realizing what had transpired, the clan decided to concentrate on string fuinjutsu, hoping to one day break the seal and reclaim their bloodline. For the next century, they dedicated themselves to this art, revealing their true name and becoming the foremost experts in fuinjutsu. Simultaneously, they spread rumors that their alternate identity, the Gojos, had vanished. Unfortunately, their mastery of fuinjutsu and their longing to reclaim their lost bloodline led to their downfall. Other shinobi nations began to fear their growing power, resulting in the destruction of Uzushio and the Land of Whirlpool. Those clan members who survived the village's destruction were scattered across the continent. Despite the devastation of Uzushio, the clan's efforts to break the genetic seal endured. Alongside Naruto's father, Minato, they devised a plan to shatter the seal. However, they realized that the strain it would place on Carrie during her PRGNCY could harm Naruto, prompting them to postpone their efforts until after his BRH. Now, with that option no longer viable, it would fall to Naruto to fulfill the clan's dream of reclaiming their bloodline and rebuilding their legacy. The information necessary to break the seal was hidden in a scroll located in a secret compartment at the bottom of a desk in their home library. To access it, he would need to place a drop of his blood on a small seal in the drawer, which would recognize him due to the shared blood of both his parents. Alongside the scrolls containing techniques created by the clan during their time of power, there would also be powerful sealing techniques developed after the loss of their bloodline, as well as one of 10 celestial swords. Regardless of whether he chose to use these techniques, Carrie had faith that Naruto would succeed in restoring their clan and becoming a great man and shinobi, just like his father. She expressed her love for both Minato and Naruto, wishing them joy and a long, happy life. After finishing his mother's letter, tears began to fall from Naruto's eyes. He vowed to make her proud and restore their family's legacy before setting the letter down. As Naruto observed Rinji and Rayleigh, Rinji approached him with an offer to train alongside them. However, Naruto declined, explaining that he could not use his chakra because it had been sealed away. Rinji was not surprised by this revelation, as she and Rayleigh were already aware that it was common practice for shinobi villages to impose such restrictions on those they banished. Rinji encouraged Naruto to join them for taijutsu training, suggesting that they could also teach him some basic kenjutsu techniques. Excited by the prospect, Naruto eagerly accepted and joined Rinji and Rayleigh in their training session with Anasu. Over the next few hours, they worked diligently to refine Naruto's taijutsu skills, which were quite unpolished, relying heavily on instinct rather than technique. They introduced him to fundamental sword stances, allowing him to practice throughout the day. After their training concluded, the group settled down for dinner. Rayleigh shared an idea that had come to him during their training. He inquired if there were any other seals on Naruto aside from the one that prevented him from using his chakra. Naruto confirmed that there was another seal, one that restricted him from discussing Konoha or anything related to it. Rayleigh nodded, having anticipated such a restriction, as it was typical for villages to either erase a shinobi's memories or impose powerful genjutsu upon banishment. Curious, Rayleigh asked Naruto to reveal the seals. Naruto complied, first showing the seal that silenced him regarding Konoha, then removing his jacket and shirt to display the seal on his chest that suppressed his chakra. Rayleigh examined the seals closely, hoping to understand their mechanics. After a few minutes of scrutiny, he sighed deeply and explained that he could not break them. Each shinobi village employed unique sealing techniques, and he was unsure how to undo Naruto's specific seals. The seal preventing Naruto from discussing Konoha was particularly advanced, and Rayleigh feared that tampering with it could cause harm. Disappointment washed over Naruto as he processed this information, feeling a sense of hopelessness. However, Rayleigh clarified that while he could not assist directly, there was a possibility for Naruto to take action himself. He suggested that Naruto could utilize the Kyuubi's chakra, as it was powerful enough to potentially overwhelm the seals. The seal suppressing Naruto's chakra was designed to inhibit only his own, not that of the Kyuubi. Rinji asked if Naruto could summon the Kyuubi's chakra, to which he confirmed that he could. Rayleigh acknowledged that while there was no guarantee of success, it was their best option. Understanding the gravity of the situation, Naruto nodded and prepared to attempt the summoning. After finishing their meal, they moved to a large clearing away from their cave. Naruto closed his eyes and focused, recalling the techniques Jiraiya had taught him prior to the Chunin exam. In his mind, he found himself in a vast hall facing a large cage door, sealed tightly. Behind it lurked the Kyuubi. The Kyuubi acknowledged Naruto's presence with a mocking tone, but Naruto, unfazed, expressed his disdain for the fox. The Kyuubi, amused by Naruto's defiance, inquired about the reason for his visit. Naruto explained that he sought the Kyuubi's assistance to flood his body with its power in order to break the seals. The Kyuubi raised an eyebrow, intrigued but skeptical. Questioned why it should help Naruto, given that there was nothing to gain from it. Naruto pointed out that without breaking the seals, he would be vulnerable to the Akatsuki, who would capture him and extract the Kyuubi for their own purposes. The Kyuubi considered this, recognizing the truth in Naruto's words. If Naruto were captured, the Kyuubi would be at risk of being extracted, losing its chance for freedom. Reluctantly, the Kyuubi agreed to assist Naruto but warned him that the process would be painful and could potentially be fatal. A flicker of worry crossed Naruto's face, but it quickly transformed into determination as he prepared to face the challenge ahead. He understood that if he did not break the seals and could not use his chakra, he would stand no chance of surviving when the Akatsuki eventually found him. Without his chakra, he could not hope to regain his clan's lost bloodline or revive his clan. The urgency of his situation weighed heavily on him, and he realized that failing to act would lead to his demise once the Akatsuki caught up with him. The Kyuubi, sensing his determination, acknowledged his courage but warned him of the potential side effects from being flooded with its chakra. Despite the warning, he was resolute in his decision to proceed. The Kyuubi then initiated the process, sending its chakra into him before he could express any further hesitation. In the real world, Rayleigh, Rinji, and Anasu watched over Naruto, waiting patiently for him to awaken. Anasu grew restless and inquired about how long they would have to wait. Rayleigh admitted uncertainty, explaining that Naruto needed to convince the Kyuubi to assist him, a task that might prove challenging. Just then, Anasu sensed a significant surge of chakra emanating from Naruto, prompting the group to turn their attention to him. They witnessed red chakra forming around Naruto, indicating that he had indeed gained the Kyuubi's assistance. As the minutes passed, Rayleigh and the others observed the Kyuubi's chakra enveloping Naruto's body. The intensity of the chakra grew, and they could sense its foulness and bloodlust, which made Anasu increasingly anxious. Rinji commented on the remarkable nature of Biju chakra, recalling the overwhelming power displayed by a Jinchuriki when unleashing their full potential. As the Kyuubi's chakra continued to flood Naruto's body, he began to scream in pain. Anasu, concerned for his friend, instinctively moved toward him, but Rayleigh restrained him, warning that approaching could be dangerous. Rinji explained that a Biju's chakra was toxic, and while Jinchuriki could tolerate it to some extent due to their seals, there were limits to what they could withstand, even with a powerful seal like Naruto's. As the Kyuubi's chakra intensified, Rayleigh and the others were forced to retreat further back, eventually finding themselves about 300 yards away. From their vantage point in the treetops, They watched as the chakra grew larger and more powerful, creating a force that pushed the surrounding trees back. Anasu marveled at the intensity of the chakra, feeling its immense presence even from a distance. When the buildup of chakra reached its peak, Rayleigh and Rinji quickly took hold of Anasu and jumped behind a large boulder for cover. A massive shockwave erupted, sending chunks of earth and uprooted trees flying past them. Once the shockwave subsided, the three shinobi emerged from their hiding place to survey the devastation left in its wake. Trees lay toppled, and the ground was littered with mounds of earth. Realizing the need to check on Naruto, they moved closer to his location. The destruction only worsened as they approached. Entire trees had been obliterated, and the earth was torn apart. Finally, they found Naruto lying in the center of a medium-sized crater, face down. His clothing was tattered, and his body bore signs of severe burns, clearly inflicted by the Kyuubi's chakra. Remarkably, however, the injuries were healing at an astonishing rate. Anasu, worried about his friend, asked if Naruto was alive. Rinji confirmed that he was, but suggested they bring him back to the cave to allow him to rest and recover. After using the Kyuubi's chakra, Naruto spent a few days recovering. Although his injuries healed quickly, his body remained fatigued from the overwhelming energy he had channeled. Once he was able to move again, Rinji provided him with some of Anasu's spare clothes, as Naruto's own garments were in tatters. The only piece that survived was his orange coat, which had blown away during the chakra surge, only to be found later by Anasu. Fortunately, the necklace given to him by Tsunade had also survived. Despite his anger at her for lying about his family, he cherished the necklace as an important keepsake. Once dressed, Rinji asked if he could use his chakra, and Naruto began summoning and forming his Rasengan. This surprised both Rayleigh and Rinji, who recognized the technique as one made famous by the Yondaime Hokage. Seeing that he could use his chakra, Naruto felt a wave of joy and relief wash over him, celebrating his newfound freedom from Danzo's seal. After a moment of silence, Rayleigh made an offer that he and Rinji had discussed while waiting for Naruto to wake. They invited him to join them on their travels, during which they would train him. Naruto, initially in disbelief, felt a smile spread across his face, overwhelmed by the excitement of the opportunity. For the next few hours, Rayleigh and Rinji engaged him in conversation about his past training. During this time, Naruto hesitantly revealed that Jiraiya had been his teacher, which surprised both Rinji and Anasu. They were astonished that he had been trained by the legendary Sannin, one of the most renowned and powerful shinobi in the world. Rayleigh, however, was not surprised, as he had expected as much after witnessing Naruto's skill with the Rasengan. He inquired whether Jiraiya had taught him anything beyond that technique. Naruto mentioned that he had signed a contract with the Toads and learned how to summon them, which caused Rayleigh to frown. Curious about the implications of his contract, Naruto asked if there was a way to avoid being summoned by Jiraiya at any time. Rinji explained that there were two options. He could either annul the contract or have the Toads lie to Jiraiya on his behalf. Naruto felt conflicted. He enjoyed his bond with the Toads, especially Gamakichi and Gamabunta, and did not want to sever ties with them. Yet, he was uncertain if he could convince them to agree, given their long-standing relationship with Jiraiya. After contemplating his options, Naruto decided he had nothing to lose by asking. He, along with Rinji and Rayleigh, left the cave and returned to the site where he had previously contacted the Kyuubi. Once there, he summoned Gamabunta, the leader of the Toads. Anasu watched in awe as the massive toad appeared, astonished that Naruto could summon such a powerful ally. Rinji expressed his admiration for the legendary summon, while Rayleigh, familiar with the tales of Gamabunta, shared in the amazement. Upon being summoned, Gamabunta demanded to know who had called him and expressed frustration at being disturbed. Naruto explained that he needed to discuss his contract with the Toads. Gamabunta, curious about the situation, asked for details about Naruto's predicament and the people accompanying him. Naruto took the time to recount the events of the past month, detailing the mission to retrieve Sasuke, and the council's decision to banish him. Gamabunta listened intently, his disbelief growing as Naruto described the council's actions. When Gamabunta learned that Jiraiya had been absent during these events, he expressed disbelief, unable to fathom that Jiraiya would allow such a thing to happen. Naruto, frustrated by his so-called godfather's negligence, confirmed that Jiraiya had been away, gallivanting as he often did. Gamabunta, sensing Naruto's anger and frustration, began to understand the depth of the situation and the challenges Naruto faced. The tension in the air was palpable as Naruto confronted Gamabunta, the Toad Boss. He revealed that he had just discovered the truth about his life, feeling betrayed by those he trusted. Gamabunta's eyes widened in realization, understanding that Naruto was aware of the hidden truths that had been kept from him. Naruto expressed his frustration, jumping onto Gamabunta's nose to emphasize his point. He was furious, feeling that the elders had failed to protect him and allowed the village to mistreat him for years. Gamabunta, taken aback, had never heard of the extent of Naruto's suffering. He had suspected that Naruto's life as a Jinchuriki was difficult, but the deliberate abuse he faced from the villagers was shocking. As Gamabunta tried to defend Jiraiya, claiming he would never allow such treatment, Naruto countered that Jiraiya had never been there for him. The Toad Boss struggled to reconcile this new information with his understanding of Jiraiya, who was known for his dedication to the village and its people. Gamabunta felt a surge of anger towards Jiraiya, unable to believe that he could neglect Naruto in such a way. Naruto made a request of Gamabunta, asking him to keep Jiraiya and the others unaware of his whereabouts. He wanted to distance himself from the village and its inhabitants, expressing his longing to be left alone. Gamabunta, though reluctant, agreed to help, understanding the depth of Naruto's pain. When Naruto mentioned his companions, Rayleigh and the others, Gamabunta regarded them with a critical eye but ultimately nodded, trusting Naruto to take care of himself. Naruto assured Gamabunta that he would summon Gamakichi later to update him on his situation. As Gamabunta vanished, Naruto fell to the ground, muttering his frustration about the abrupt departure. Rayleigh and the others approached, concerned for his well-being. Naruto brushed off their worries, assuring them he would be fine. Anasu inquired if Gamabunta had agreed to keep their plans secret, to which Naruto confirmed that he had. Rayleigh then asked if Naruto was certain about joining them on their journey. Naruto affirmed his decision, knowing that to achieve his goals, he needed to grow stronger, and he believed that traveling with Rayleigh, Rinji, and Anasu would help him do just that. With a shared sense of purpose, they set off toward the cave where they would prepare for their adventure together. The seals on Naruto's body had been removed, except for the genetic seal, marking a new chapter in his journey. After Naruto evaded the lethal slash from Anasu, he took a defensive stance with his katana. Anasu spun around, his blade whistling through the air, and Naruto raised his sword just in time to barely deflect the attack. The force of the blow pushed him back, and he grunted with exertion. Anasu charged in again, but Naruto parried each strike with great precision. Sparks flew from their clashing katanas as they engaged in their deadly dance, eventually reaching a stalemate. Rayleigh observed their sparring and praised their efforts, noting a significant improvement in both of them, particularly Naruto, who had mastered the katana in just a few months. Rinji nodded in agreement, acknowledging Anasu's growing speed and precision. She assessed their skills, placing Anasu at a low Jonin level and Naruto at a high Chunin level, which filled them with pride. Still catching their breath, Naruto and Anasu turned to their sensei, who informed them of their quest to find emissary Zhuge Liang. Confusion crossed their faces as they wondered about this day. Rinji explained that Zhuge Liang was recognized as the most accomplished strategist of his era. His reputation as an intellectual scholar remained significant even during his reclusion. She elaborated that he possessed mastery over thousands of jutsu, excelling in genjutsu and sealing techniques that rivaled even her own skills. He had turned down many offers from shinobi villages and rulers, choosing instead to assist only those he deemed worthy. Rinji continued, explaining that he avoided affiliation with any specific nation or village, helping only those he found deserving before retreating back to his mountain home. Anasu then inquired about the meaning behind the title, Sleeping Dragon. After a brief silence, Rayleigh responded that the saying goes, "Never poke a sleeping dragon, as awakening it could lead to utter destruction." Surprised by the implications, Naruto thought about how this emissary might help him reclaim what Konoha owed him, aware that the council members would likely find ways to block him through politics. He asked where the sleeping dragon resided. Rinji informed them that he lived near the border of the Earth Country but warned them that he did not take students. Rayleigh instructed everyone to pack up and prepare for departure, as it was getting late. Naruto felt a mix of emotions as they got ready. He had heard of MSR Zhuge Liang's legendary status and yearned to learn from him, yet he was aware of the MSDR's selectivity regarding students. Doubts crept into Naruto's mind about whether he would be worthy of such a MSTR. Nevertheless, he resolved to do his best and earn the MSDR's approval. After 4 hours of walking along a dusty road, the group arrived at a small village. Tired from their journey, Rinji booked a 2-room hotel for them to rest overnight. As Naruto rolled up in his blanket, the events of the day swirled in his mind, making it difficult for him to sleep. In the stillness of the night, Anasu broke the silence by asking about Konoha. Naruto hesitated but eventually began to share his story. He spoke of the mistreatment he faced, a father who cursed him, and the crushing betrayal from those he once trusted. Anasu listened silently, providing a pillar of support as Naruto's emotions poured out. As Naruto recounted the betrayals by his sensei and teammates, he felt overwhelmed and began to cry. Anasu wrapped his arms around him tightly, offering comfort and reassurance. He promised Naruto that neither he nor their sensei would ever betray him, declaring that they were now family. Anasu expressed a firm resolve to show Konoha and Naruto's former team that he was neither a dead last nor a weakling, vowing to make him the strongest shinobi alive. Feeling a flicker of determination ignite within him, Naruto nodded in agreement. Exhaustion soon overtook him, and as he mumbled his gratitude, he fell asleep. Anasu watched over him, noticing the small smile on Naruto's lips as he slept. The dawn broke the next day, and Naruto awoke revitalized, strengthened by Anasu's warm words and the newfound love from his family. As they set off once more, Naruto felt his resolve renewed. He was determined to become the strongest shinobi, not just for himself but to silence all those who had ridiculed him. Ready to work tirelessly, push himself to his limits, and achieve the impossible, he embarked on a new journey filled with challenges. The path ahead would not be easy, fraught with dangers and obstacles that would test their resolve. Yet, they persevered, each member utilizing their unique skills to overcome these challenges. With each stride, Naruto grew more resilient and confident, shedding the fears of his past. He was no longer the scared, ostracized boy from Konoha. He now stood tall as a capable and proud shinobi, a testament to the strength found in family. Eventually, they reached their destination and faced their final test. With the unwavering support of Rayleigh, Rinji, and Anasu, Naruto triumphed. Standing tall in the aftermath, he reflected on the hardships that had led him to this moment. He had vanquished betrayal and earned the belief of his family, feeling eternally grateful for his status as the strongest living shinobi. After settling their tabs at the hotel, the group set off again, facing a 3-hour trek ahead with a tricky border crossing to avoid the Earth Country's patrols. Upon reaching their destination, they encountered a surprisingly modest house, intricately detailed yet devoid of ostentation. Contrary to what Rayleigh had suggested, Zhuge Liang was not attached to material possessions, despite his fame and the villagers' respect. They approached the door and knocked. An appealing middle-aged woman answered softly, asking how she could help them. Rayleigh stepped forward, stating that they needed to speak with her husband about an important matter. He instructed her to tell him it was the Dark King, confident that he would understand. The woman nodded and closed the door behind her to fetch her husband. Rayleigh and Rinji turned to their students, reminding them to be respectful and avoid causing any problems. The students nodded in acknowledgement. When the door opened again, a man in his mid-40s appeared, dressed in a light brown outfit. His voice was smooth and gentle as he greeted them, noting how much they had grown since their last meeting, particularly complimenting Rinji on her transformation into a true flower. Zhuge Liang acknowledged their request for his talents, and Rinji explained that one of their students had a genetic seal that inhibited the activation of his bloodline. Zhuge Liang contemplated the request to free someone from a seal, stroking his long white beard before letting out a sigh. He agreed to take a look after dinner. Inside the house, a black-haired young girl played attentively with her dolls by the fireplace. Zhuge Liang smiled as he introduced her, referring to her as their treasure, Yoshino. During a year of intensive training under Zhuge Liang, Naruto learned the mysteries of the limitless, the legendary bloodline technique of the Uzumaki family. This technique, known as infinity, allowed him to manipulate space in extraordinary ways. With Zhuge Liang's patient guidance, Naruto began to understand the fundamentals of limitless, which involved halting the flow of space itself. The technique operated similarly to mathematical sequences, where infinity represented the convergence of an immeasurable series, creating an infinitely divided barrier between the user and their target. Anything attempting to breach this barrier would slow down to the point of appearing to have stopped entirely, trapped within an infinite space. The invisible wall created by infinity could be adjusted at the user's will, serving as a shield against attacks or transforming into a powerful offensive tool. However, the technique had its limitations. Chakra-infused tools could disrupt it, requiring Naruto to remain vigilant during combat. As Naruto delved deeper into Limitless, he marveled at its potential and boundless possibilities. With Zhuge Liang's mentorship, he began to integrate this ancient technique into his skill set, marking him as a true heir of the Uzumaki clan. Meanwhile, Anasu dedicated himself to mastering his sword, Ryujin Kori, one of the 10 legendary celestial swords known for its ice manipulation abilities. Under the tutelage of Zhuge Liang and Rayleigh, Anasu learned to harness the true potential of Ryujin Kori, enduring rigorous training that pushed him to his limits. He perfected several techniques, including the Frozen Edge, a swift slash that froze anything it touched, and the Ice Mirror, which created reflective ice surfaces to deflect attacks and confuse enemies. Anasu also developed the Blizzard Barrage, summoning a storm of ice shards aimed precisely at his targets, requiring immense concentration and control to avoid collateral damage. Anasu's training focused on integrating Ryujin Kori's powers into his overall fighting style, allowing him to fluidly combine swordplay with ice manipulation in unpredictable ways. This approach transformed him into a versatile warrior capable of adapting to various combat situations. As days passed, the bond between Anasu and Ryujin Kori deepened, with the celestial sword responding to his determination and skill. Anasu learned to respect the blade, understanding that its power was not merely a tool but an extension of his spirit. Throughout their training, Naruto and Anasu forged a strong friendship based on mutual respect. They sparred, learned from each other, and improved their techniques together. With Naruto's expertise in Limitless and Fuinjutsu complementing Anasu's mastery of Ryujin Kori, they became a formidable team. As the year progressed, both Naruto and Anasu evolved into powerful shinobi, no longer the confused children they once were. Their travels had transformed them into a force to be reckoned with, guided by their emphasis as they harnessed their inner power. Eventually, Zhuge Liang gathered Naruto, Anasu, Rayleigh, and Rinji for an important discussion. He commended their progress, noting how Naruto's mastery of Limitless and Fuinjutsu had shaped him into an exceptional shinobi, while Anasu's relationship with Ryujin Kori had reached extraordinary heights. With their training at its peak, Naruto felt a deep yearning to connect with his roots and learn more about his clan's legacy. He expressed his longing to visit his clan's homeland, a sentiment echoed by those present, all driven by a longing to uncover their lineage. Zhuge Liang nodded in agreement, recognizing the wisdom in Naruto's choice. He explained that understanding his origins would strengthen Naruto's determination and connection to his powers, revealing many secrets within the Uzumaki clan's homeland. Rayleigh and Rinji exchanged approving glances, expressing their willingness to accompany Naruto on this journey, which would serve as both training and a path to self-discovery. Anasu stepped forward, placing a hand on Naruto's shoulder, affirming that they would embark on this journey together. With their decision made, they began preparations for their trip to the homeland of the Uzumaki clan, ready to uncover the mysteries that awaited them. They packed their belongings, filled with anticipation and determination for the discoveries that awaited them. The journey soon became tedious, presenting numerous challenges to their abilities and resolve. They traversed vast, lush forests, treacherous mountains, and expansive plains. Under the guidance of his sensei, Naruto continued his quest to develop his abilities with Anasu. He had been training in the limitless technique, striving to perfect his control over infinity and explore new ways to manipulate its energies. Anasu had mastered the methods of Ryujin Kori, uncovering new strategies that could harness the icy energies of the celestial sword. Their brotherhood had become increasingly vital. Together, their combined power was formidable. After 4 weeks of travel, Naruto and his senseis, Rayleigh and Rinji, finally arrived at the homeland of the Uzumaki clan. Before them lay a devastated village, Uzumaki Village, ruined by an assault from Kumogakure, the Wagakure, and Kirigakure. Despite its desolation, an undeniable aura of power and history lingered in the air, a reminder of the Uzumaki clan's former strength. As he climbed a steep hill, Naruto observed countless broken buildings and stone structures, all reduced to rubble. The wind whistled through the remains, as if mourning the lives lost. It was clear that nothing salvageable remained, the village having been thoroughly looted or abandoned by fleeing survivors. A wide river cut through the village, flanked by broken pillars adorned with spiral designs reminiscent of the symbol for Konoha. The water rushed past rocks, creating small whirlpools, a poignant reminder of the village's name and its lost inhabitants. Standing atop the hill, Naruto, Rayleigh, and Rinji gazed at the ruins of Uzumaki in profound silence, the destruction before them a testament to the village's tragic past. Naruto felt a surge of emotion as he reflected on the significance of the place where his clan had once thrived, now reduced to nothing. Rayleigh placed a comforting hand on Naruto's shoulder, reminding him that the spirit of the proud Uzumaki clan still lived on within him. Rinji, her expression somber, emphasized that the legacy of Naruto's clan was not confined to the ruins but was also found in the knowledge and skills passed down through generations. They needed to honor that legacy by safeguarding those lessons. Determination replaced the sadness in Naruto's eyes as he resolved to honor the sacrifices of his ancestors. He vowed to rebuild and grow stronger, not only for himself but for the memory of his clan. Rayleigh encouraged him, reminding him that the abilities of the Uzumaki flowed through him and should be used wisely. Rinji suggested they begin their exploration of the ruins, as valuable knowledge might still be hidden among the remnants. With renewed resolve, Naruto declared his intention to become the strongest shinobi and uphold the name of the Uzumaki. Following a wall, he discovered a grand entrance to the village. Though smaller than Konoha, it exuded an ancient presence. Even in its ruined state, the village's structures held together remarkably well. As they entered, the only sound was the echo of their footsteps in the silence. Naruto's eyes were drawn to the intricate details of the remaining buildings as they explored. He paused at one structure, tracing his fingers over faded symbols etched into the stone. He soon realized the village's resilience stemmed from its stability and anti-wearing seals, marveling at their craftsmanship. Rayleigh approached to examine the seals, acknowledging the Uzumaki's mastery of sealing techniques. Rinji agreed, noting that their dedication to Fuinjutsu had preserved their buildings and heritage. A mix of pride and sorrow washed over Naruto as he recognized that, despite everything, the work of his ancestors remained strong, serving as a message from the past about their strength and talent. Rayleigh affirmed that this was a testament to what the Uzumaki had left behind, now passing to Naruto. With determination, he vowed to study the seals and ensure that the name of Uzumaki would never fade from memory. As he continued to explore, he discovered seals used for everyday purposes. Instead of wells, the village utilized seals to draw water from the earth, providing taps without plumbing. Their lighting relied on chakra and seals. When Naruto entered a building that still stood, he channeled chakra into a seal, and with a flourish, the lights illuminated the room. He marveled at the advanced yet simplistic nature of the Uzumaki's innovations, reflecting on their ingenuity as he surveyed the remnants of a kitchen destroyed in the village's downfall. Rayleigh and Rinji observed Naruto's awe, recognizing the artistry behind the clan's functional designs. Moving past the remaining houses, Naruto approached the town center, his footsteps echoing in the stillness of the village. He discovered a grand fountain, standing tall and intact amidst the surrounding destruction, symbolizing the resilient spirit of the Uzumaki clan. Drawn to it, he stepped closer for a better look. The fountain featured spiral designs reminiscent of the Uzumaki clan symbol. Although the water that once flowed had ceased, it held a captivating presence. As he traced his fingers along the smooth, cold stone, he felt a connection to his clan's enduring legacy. Rinji joined him by the fountain, acknowledging the history it represented and the strength of the Uzumaki clan that Naruto was now tasked with upholding. Rayleigh reminded him to remember the lessons learned from the ruins, urging him to let the strength of his ancestors inspire him. As Naruto gazed back at the fountain, his determination surged anew. He resolved to learn everything he could and bring pride to the name of the Uzumaki. Though the village lay in ruins, its spirit lived on within him. As they stood together, the wind whispered through the remains, carrying echoes of the once great village, a gentle reminder of its enduring legacy. Naruto understood that this was merely the beginning of his journey. With the guidance of Rayleigh and Rinji, he was determined to unlock the full extent of his heritage and forge a new path for the Uzumaki clan. The weight of his legacy rested on his shoulders, but he felt a renewed sense of purpose and strength. As he delved deeper into his family's history, he discovered the potential that lay within him, ready to be unleashed. With each step forward, Naruto was not just reclaiming his past, he was also shaping the future of his clan, filled with hope and ambition. Naruto stood before the fountain, feeling an inexplicable connection that made it difficult to leave. After several minutes, he finally pulled away, but his gaze lingered behind him, as if he were missing something vital. Once the fountain was out of sight, the weight on his heart lifted, allowing him to continue his search. As he walked through the village, he stumbled upon a vast mansion, charred and burned, yet it retained an air of grandeur befitting royalty. The symbol of the Uzumaki swirl adorned the front of the estate, confirming his suspicion that this was the clan house. The sheer size of it left him in awe as he stepped into the compound. The garden appeared well-maintained, a rare sight amidst the encroaching forest that had overtaken much of the area. Large training grounds sprawled across the property, and the exotic flower beds were so vibrant that they would make any ordinary flower shop seem inadequate. Approaching the entrance, which had been forcibly opened, Naruto noticed a large boulder embedded in the far wall, likely a remnant of a powerful earth technique. In the center of the floor, a prominent Uzumaki crest lay beneath his feet, flanked by twin spiral staircases leading to the upper levels. As he surveyed the interior, he was struck by the devastation. The attackers had not only taken lives but had also attempted to erase the very existence of the Uzumaki clan. The library was a graveyard of burned books, and the smaller Uzumaki crests were destroyed beyond recognition. It seemed that only those protected by seals had survived. Frustration welled within him as he realized the extent of the loss. He muttered to himself, feeling slightly defeated at the thought of the clan's history being reduced to ashes. Just then, Rayleigh and Rinji arrived, taking in the desolation and Naruto's evident frustration. Rayleigh placed a comforting hand on Naruto's shoulder, reminding him that while the attackers may have tried to erase the clan, they could not obliterate everything. The seals, remnants of their legacy, and the knowledge that lived on within him were still present. Rinji nodded in agreement, suggesting that hidden knowledge might still be safeguarded by the seals. Inspired by their words, Naruto felt a flicker of hope. He resolved not to give up, believing there had to be something left, some piece of knowledge that had survived. Determined, Naruto descended the stairs once more, searching the mansion one last time. Despite its once grand nature, it felt empty. However, he discovered a new room on the bottom floor that piqued his interest. The presence of a genjutsu intrigued him, and as he examined the walls, he noticed a large design that appeared blank, concealed by the illusion. At the far end of the room, a wooden pillar bore words carved into it. As he read the inscription, he felt a connection to his heritage. The phrase spoke of loyalty and the enduring spirit of the Uzumaki clan. Upon finishing the inscription, a hidden passageway opened in the center of the room, revealing a staircase that descended into darkness. With a small torch in hand, Naruto ventured down the corridor, where the space widened, illuminated by an unnatural light. Entering the newly revealed room, he was greeted by the sight of a massive library filled with scrolls. Awe washed over him as he picked up a scroll from the nearest shelf, realizing the significance of his discovery. Excitedly, he called for Rayleigh and Rinji, who rushed to his side, their eyes widening in astonishment at the vast collection. Naruto shared his revelation that this library contained the hidden knowledge of the Uzumaki clan. Rinji examined a scroll and confirmed its importance, while Rayleigh placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder, commending him for uncovering the legacy of his clan. This discovery was not just a piece of history, it was the foundation for rebuilding the Uzumaki's honor and power. Filled with pride and determination, Naruto vowed to honor the sacrifices of his ancestors. He would learn everything he could from the scrolls and ensure that the Uzumaki name would be remembered and respected. As he delved into the scrolls, he found one detailing various plants and herbs with medicinal properties. Each shelf bore a symbol indicating the type of information contained within the scrolls. When he discovered the section dedicated to sealing techniques, his excitement grew. The sheer volume of knowledge was overwhelming, and he felt fortunate to have the ability to absorb it. He summoned hundreds of clones to help catalog the scrolls, instructing them to focus on the sealing section while he explored other areas, including the sections on wind and fire techniques. As he worked, he felt a profound connection to his ancestors, recognizing that the knowledge contained within the library was a testament to the greatness of the Uzumaki clan. Naruto's determination to honor his lineage intensified with each scroll he read and every jutsu he studied. After hours of searching, he discovered a section adorned with the ornate emblem of the Uzumaki clan. Recognizing its importance, he carefully unrolled a scroll and began to read, uncovering detailed accounts of the clan's history, their powerful techniques, and their contributions to the shinobi world. His clones worked diligently, sealing away valuable information while Naruto immersed himself in learning about his heritage. He found scrolls on advanced sealing techniques, elemental jutsus, and even personal journals of past clan leaders. Each piece of information felt like a treasure, adding to the understanding of who the Uzumaki were and what they represented. As Naruto absorbed this knowledge, he felt a profound sense of pride and responsibility. The library was more than just a collection of scrolls. It was the heart and soul of the Uzumaki clan. He vowed to preserve and protect this legacy, using it to become the strongest shinobi and restore his family's honor. Hours later, Rayleigh and Rinji found Naruto deeply engrossed in his studies. They were amazed at the sheer volume of information and the dedication with which he and his clones worked. They recognized the significance of what Naruto had discovered and praised his efforts. Naruto, filled with determination, acknowledged that this was just the beginning. With the knowledge he had gained, he was resolute in his quest to become the strongest shinobi and prove that the Uzumaki clan was far from forgotten. Rayleigh and Rinji assured him of their support every step of the way. With renewed focus, Naruto began searching for the Six Eyes and the Infinite Scroll. He delved deeper into the library, scanning the extensive collection of scrolls and manuscripts, knowing that these artifacts would be crucial in harnessing his newfound abilities and uncovering the full potential of his clan's legacy. During his search, he stumbled upon a room that had been sealed shut. Intrigued, he carefully opened the door and stepped inside. The dimly lit room exuded an air of mystery, and his eyes were immediately drawn to a black sword displayed on a pedestal at the center. Approaching the sword with caution, Naruto felt a powerful aura emanating from it. This was no ordinary weapon. It was Ryujin Jakka, one of the 10 celestial swords. The sword possessed dominion over fire, capable of producing flames unmatched by most fire-style techniques he had encountered. Its power was so immense that it could create a field of lava and fire that ordinary water-style methods could not extinguish. As Naruto reached out to grasp the hilt of Ryujin Jakka, he felt the heat radiating from it, a testament to its immense power. The moment he touched the sword, a surge of energy flowed through him, connecting him to the ancient weapon. He marveled at the sword's craftsmanship and the raw power it contained, realizing that with it, he could harness the true power of fire. Just then, Rayleigh and Rinji entered the room, drawn by the sudden spike in chakra. Upon seeing Naruto holding Ryujin Jaka, they immediately understood its significance. They recognized that this powerful weapon could be unstoppable in Naruto's hands, and they expressed their confidence in his ability to wield it responsibly. With Ryujin Jaka now in his possession, Naruto continued his search for the Six Eyes and Infinite Scroll, more determined than ever. He knew that with these powerful tools and the support of his mentors, he would achieve greatness and prove the true strength of the Uzumaki clan. As they explored further, Naruto, Rayleigh, and Rinji navigated the underground library, seeking the elusive Infinite Scroll and any information on the Six Eyes. They soon stumbled upon another sealed room. With careful precision, Naruto broke the seal and pushed the door open. Inside, they found shelves filled with ancient scrolls, each radiating a sense of profound knowledge and power. Naruto's eyes widened as he discovered a section dedicated to his bloodline and Uzumaki clan kinjutsu. The trio began to examine the scrolls, unraveling their secrets. They found detailed notes on the Shiki Fujin, the death demon sealing jutsu, and other formidable seals, many of which involved significant sacrifices. As Naruto flipped through the scrolls, he recognized some seals capable of containing the Biju and pondered the reasons behind the abundance of such techniques. Rayleigh explained that the Uzumaki clan was the ultimate authority on sealing techniques, needing these seals to maintain balance and protect the world from the immense power of the Biju. Rinji added that they were both guardians and warriors, using these seals as their weapons and shields. While sifting through the scrolls, Naruto came across a particularly ornate one. Unrolling it, he found detailed instructions on using the Six Eyes and the Infinite Technique. His heart raced as he realized the significance of this discovery. With diagrams and explanations, the scroll contained crucial knowledge from string his abilities and protecting those he cared about. With a renewed sense of purpose, Naruto committed to learning everything in the scrolls. He was determined to become the strongest shinobi and prove the strength of the Uzumaki clan. They continued to study the scrolls, absorbing their vast knowledge, aware that this was just the beginning of Naruto's journey. With the support of his mentors and the legacy of his ancestors, he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. After sealing away the gold and various treasures they discovered, Naruto, Rayleigh, and Rinji continued their exploration. Each room they entered seemed to hold secrets and remnants of the Uzumaki clan's illustrious past. Eventually, they found themselves in a grand room that exuded an aura of significance, hinting at even greater discoveries yet to come. As Naruto stepped inside, the ceiling began to glow, and 9 lines radiated outward from the center, converging at a point where an image shone brighter than the rest. The image was purple with a small dot in the center, surrounded by ripples that extended outward, forming an oval shape. Naruto realized he was under the fountain at the center of the town as he observed the room. Where the glowing lines met the walls, pillars of water extended up to the ceiling, creating a mesmerizing effect. Curious, Naruto picked up a book from a nearby shelf. It was part of a detailed history of the Uzumaki clan, meticulously recording every minor event with extraordinary detail. He understood that even with the help of his clones, it would take years to read through all the volumes. Feeling overwhelmed by the sheer amount of information, he replaced the book and noticed something in the center of the room. A thick book on a large table directly under the glowing purple symbol. The book bore the Uzumaki clan symbol on the front, and its spine was covered in intricate seals. Recognizing the protective measures, Naruto thought about the variation of a blood seal on the book, suggesting that only an Uzumaki could read or open it. However, he sensed there was more to it than that. As he brushed his hand against the cover, the book responded to his touch, and several seals began to glow. Naruto hesitated, wondering if he was about to trigger a dangerous trap or if he met the book's criteria for access. Finally, the book reacted positively and swung open to the first page. As he leaned in to read, the book welcomed him as the newly chosen head of the Uzumaki clan, explaining that he could now read and add to the Uzumaki clan's diary. Generations of Uzumaki clan leaders had left their secrets within these pages to teach the next generation and learn from their mistakes. Naruto was astonished to see his name fill the spot designated for the new Uzumaki clan head. Deciding to read the book in more detail later, he carefully placed it in his bag, knowing he would have more time to go through it when he returned home. Upon exiting the room, he found his clones napping. They had finished their work hours ago and decided to accumulate several hundred hours of dreams for him to sort through when they dispelled. After a brief rest, Naruto returned to the large room with the diary. Instead of heading straight to the diary, he noticed a smaller shelf at the back of the room that had caught his eye earlier. Upon closer inspection, he saw that the shelf contained only one scroll. He picked up the scroll and unrolled it, revealing the summoning contract of dragons. The dragons of Terra Draken were renowned for their power and wisdom, and having their support would be a tremendous boon. Naruto's eyes widened in awe and excitement as he realized the significance of this discovery. He felt a renewed sense of purpose and destiny with the scroll in hand. The treasures of his clan were more than just knowledge and wealth. They were keys to his future strength and leadership. The journey ahead was clear. Naruto would HRSS the legacy of the Uzumaki clan, mastering their secrets and power to forge his path as a formidable shinobi. Naruto unrolled the scroll containing the summoning contract of dragons and read the names of those who had signed it before him. Each name belonged to an Uzumaki who had summoned the power of the dragons of Terra Draken. As he read the list silently, he felt a swell of pride, recognizing the legacy of strength and courage that connected him to these ancestors. They were the men and women who had shaped history, and now it was his turn to add his name to this esteemed list. Taking a deep breath, he bit into his thumb and allowed a drop of blood to fall onto the scroll. With determination, he signed his name, Uzumaki Naruto. As he completed the signature, the scroll flashed, marking the contract. A surge of power coursed through him, and he sensed a mysterious connection to the mighty dragons from Terra Draken. This moment was pivotal in his quest to become the world's greatest shinobi and to restore the honor of his clan, the Uzumaki. With the contract sealed, Naruto rolled the scroll and tucked it safely into his bag. He felt invigorated, filled with a renewed determination to face the future, bolstered by the strength of his ancestors and the might of dragons. Suddenly, he felt a powerful tug, as if an invisible force was pulling him. In an instant, he found himself in a vast, dimensional space, surrounded by towering mountains that reached into the endless sky. An ancient, potent energy filled the air, and as he turned, he was met with a sight that left him in awe. A colossal dragon stood before him, its scales shimmering with an ethereal glow. The dragon's size was overwhelming, dwarfing anything Naruto had ever encountered. Its wise, powerful eyes regarded him, and with each breath it took, the ground trembled slightly, resonating with its presence. Naruto stepped back, his heart racing, overwhelmed by the magnificence before him. The great dragon lowered its massive, horned head closer to Naruto and spoke with a voice that rumbled like thunder, introducing itself as Bahamut, the Dragon King of Terra Draken. Naruto struggled to steady his nerves, feeling a mix of awe and respect for the legendary creature. Bahamut acknowledged Naruto's signing of the contract and welcomed him as the newest member of the Uzumaki clan to bond with the dragons. The Dragon King inquired about Naruto's purpose in summoning him. Taking a deep breath, Naruto expressed his longing for strength, wisdom, and the power to protect those he cherished. He spoke of the pain his clan had endured and his commitment to restoring their honor, ensuring they would never be underestimated again. Bahamut laughed, a deep sound that echoed across the mountains, recognizing the nobility of Naruto's goal. He warned that the path ahead would not be easy, but with the power of dragons and Naruto's determination, much could be achieved. Naruto affirmed his readiness to prove himself worthy of this bond. Bahamut nodded in respect, acknowledging the challenges that lay ahead, but assured Naruto that he would have the support of dragons as they forged a new fate for the Uzumaki clan. The Dragon King then handed Naruto an ancient, sealed letter, which contained the weight of his clan's history and the betrayal they had suffered. As Naruto read the letter, he felt the sorrow and rage of his ancestors wash over him. The words detailed the treachery that had led to the downfall of their village, Uzushigakure, at the hands of those they had once considered allies. The betrayal had been deep, and the letter urged him to remain strong and never forget his roots. With determination ignited within him, Naruto thanked Bahamut for sharing this vital piece of his heritage. The Dragon King expressed his condolences for Naruto's loss and emphasized the importance of carrying the legacy of his clan forward. Naruto then sought guidance from Bahamut, revealing his previous connection to the power of the Six Eyes and his longing for training. Bahamut recognized the rarity and power of the Six Eyes and agreed to help Naruto, though he warned that mastering such abilities would require hard work. Naruto affirmed his readiness to undertake the challenge. He also mentioned his possession of the summoning contract of the Toads and requested assistance in summoning Pa and Ma, the leaders of that contract. Intrigued, Bahamut encouraged Naruto to demonstrate his summoning abilities. Naruto bit his thumb and performed the necessary hand signs before slamming his hand onto the ground, invoking the summoning jutsu. In a puff of smoke, two elderly toads appeared, looking around in confusion before their gazes landed on Naruto. Naruto introduced Bahamut to Pa and Ma, explaining the significance of the recent events and the truths he had uncovered about his clan. The toads exchanged glances, astonished by the presence of the Dragon King. Bahamut graciously acknowledged the wise elders, expressing his honor in meeting them and recognizing Naruto's potential. Pa and Ma agreed to assist Naruto in his journey, promising to guide him alongside Bahamut as he sought to unlock his true potential. Together, they would embark on a path filled with challenges and growth, united by their shared purpose and the strength of their bonds. This marked a significant turning point for Naruto. When he received the dragon mark from Bahamut, he experienced an overwhelming surge of power, feeling a profound connection to the ancient energies of the dragons. This moment was destined to be celebrated. Bahamut, the Dragon King, approached Naruto with a solemn expression. He conveyed that as a symbol of the bond Naruto shared with the dragons and to demonstrate his commitment to his clan's legacy, he was granting him the dragon mark. This mark would enable Naruto to summon the dragons of the Terra Draken at will. Naruto braced himself as Bahamut extended a claw, lightly touching his right shoulder. In that instant, he felt an intense heat and light envelop him. When he looked at his shoulder, he discovered a beautifully intricate dragon mark, glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. Bahamut explained that this mark would grant Naruto the power to summon the dragons whenever he required their strength and wisdom. It was a token of trust in him and his destiny as the head of the Uzumaki clan. As the power of the mark resonated with his chakra, Naruto expressed his gratitude, vowing to honor this bond by protecting those who could not protect themselves. With the seal on his shoulder, he felt rejuvenated, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. He had allies among dragons and toads, and with their guidance, he was determined to succeed. As he absorbed the significance of the moment, Pa and Ma approached him. They acknowledged his growing power but reminded him that true strength must be accompanied by wisdom and compassion. Naruto felt uplifted by their support and promised to strive for a better world. With the dragon markings on his shoulders, Naruto was prepared to confront the future. He yearned to uncover his clan's history, seek justice for their betrayal, and leave a legacy that would make his ancestors proud. After the dragon mark appeared on his skin and his bond with the dragons was solidified, he found himself transported to the secret room of the Uzumaki compound. The air crackled with residual energy from the summoning, and he felt the weight of his new responsibilities. Realizing he needed to share his experience and newfound powers, Naruto navigated the winding corridors of the Uzumaki compound until he reached the main room where his senseis, Rayleigh and Rinji, awaited him. Rayleigh, with his sharp, perceptive eyes, sensed that Naruto had undergone a significant transformation. Rinji, more expressive, stepped forward, his face a mix of concern and curiosity. Naruto nodded, his expression serious as he recounted his experience. He shared the discovery of the summoning contract of dragons, the names of his ancestors, his incredible encounter with Bahamut, and a letter from his grandfather, Uzumaki Erasure, detailing the betrayal by Konoha. Rayleigh remained composed, though his eyes sparkled with respect and understanding as he acknowledged the weight of Naruto's revelations. Rinji, however, reacted with shock and anger at the mention of Konoha's betrayal, expressing disbelief at their actions against their own allies. Taking a deep breath, Naruto explained that Bahamut had given him the dragon mark to summon dragons in times of need. He had just summoned Pa and Ma from the Toad contract for assistance. Rayleigh offered a reassuring pat on Naruto's back, acknowledging his growth and the challenges that lay ahead, including the harsh realities of a world filled with violence and injustice. With the dragons and toads at his side, Naruto now possessed the strength and allies necessary to confront these challenges. Rinji's anger transformed into fierce determination as he pledged to stand by Naruto. Together, they would seek justice for the Uzumaki clan and protect those in need. Naruto felt a surge of gratitude and resolve. Surrounded by his senseis, with the dragons and toads at his command, he was ready for anything. He would honor the memory of the Uzumaki clan by embodying strength tempered with compassion. With newfound powers and allies, Naruto was determined to uncover the secrets of his clan, seek justice for their betrayal, and forge a future that would make his ancestors proud. He stood resolute, ready for the journey that lay ahead, with Rayleigh and Rinji by his side and the bonds he had forged. After gathering everything they needed, Naruto, Rinji, and Rayleigh set out to return to Zhuge Liang's house. As they made their way back, they suddenly sensed multiple chakra signatures nearby, indicating a battle in progress. Curious and alert, they followed the source of the disturbance. Upon arriving at the scene, they spotted a group of rogue Kumo ninjas attacking a young girl with purple hair who was desperately trying to escape. She ran frantically, attempting to evade her attackers, but the rogue ninjas pursued her relentlessly. Witnessing the young girl being chased, Naruto, Rinji, and Rayleigh immediately decided to intervene. Without hesitation, they rushed toward the scene, determined to protect her and stop the attackers. Their swift actions made it clear they would not let the girl face the danger alone. The purple-haired girl sprinted through the forest, her breath quick and ragged as she desperately tried to escape her pursuers. The rogue Kumo ninjas moved swiftly, their chakra flaring as they closed the distance, intent on capturing her. One of the attackers leapt ahead of the others, drawing his sword with a menacing grin, preparing to strike her down. Just as the blade descended toward her, the girl's eyes widened in fear, but the sword stopped midair, halted by an unseen force. The attacker's expression shifted from smug confidence to confusion as his weapon remained frozen, unable to move an inch closer to her. The moment hung in the air, tension thick around them as the attackers realized something was wrong. As the attackers turned around, their eyes widened in shock. 3 figures stood before them, exuding an overwhelming presence. Leading them was Naruto, his outstretched hand glowing with a faint blue light. His technique, known as blue, had effortlessly halted the sword midair, preventing it from reaching the girl. Naruto's gaze was cold and determined as the shimmering blue energy around his hand pulsed with power. He made it clear that he would not allow them to harm her. The rogue Kumo ninjas hesitated, realizing they faced opponents far beyond their expectations. As the rogue Kumo ninjas turned to face Naruto and his companions, they immediately felt the overwhelming pressure of the power before them. Their shock at seeing Naruto's technique halt their sword attack quickly gave way to fear. Naruto's eyes, glowing with the power of the 6 eyes, locked onto the attackers. With a slight motion of his hand, the air around him shimmered as he activated Infinity, creating an invisible barrier that distorted space itself. Unaware of the concept behind the technique, the attackers charged forward in desperation, their kunai and swords moving slowly, impossibly slowly, toward Naruto, only to stop midair, mere inches from his body. Realizing something was wrong, one of the ninjas attempted to retreat, but it was too late. Naruto extended his hand, channeling more chakra into strengthened limitless blue. The air around the rogue shinobi distorted violently, pulling them in like a black hole. The force was immense, drawing everything around Naruto into its gravitational pull. The nearest attacker screamed as his body was forcefully dragged toward Naruto, his limbs twisting unnaturally. With a swift flick of his wrist, Naruto compressed the space around the rogue ninja's arm, causing it to bend and snap under the immense pressure of blue. The ninja's scream echoed through the battlefield as the intense force crushed his arm. Meanwhile, Rayleigh stood beside Naruto, gripping the hilt of his sword, Ryujin Yami. The blade pulsed with dark chakra as Rayleigh stepped forward, his expression calm and deadly. He made it clear that the attackers should have thought twice before crossing their path. Rayleigh unsheathed his sword, and the air around him darkened. The rogue ninjas turned their attention to him, but before they could react, Rayleigh swung his blade, releasing a wave of pure darkness. Dark style, Black Dragon Slash. The energy shot toward the attackers, its form resembling a dragon made of shadows, twisting and roaring through the air. One ninja attempted to block the attack with his kunai, but the dark chakra engulfed him. The dragon-shaped energy ripped through the ground, swallowing the ninja whole and leaving nothing but darkness in its wake. The other ninjas watched in horror as Rayleigh's attack dissipated, leaving behind a trail of destruction. While Rayleigh and Naruto held off most of the attackers, Rinji focused on controlling the battlefield. Her eyes glinted as she activated her family's Mistweaver Kekkei Genkai. The thick mist began to rise from the ground, swirling around the combatants and shrouding the area in an impenetrable fog. The Kumo ninjas struggled to see, their vision reduced to nothing. One of them muttered in confusion, swinging wildly at the mist. But Rinji was already gone. She reappeared behind them, the mist swirling around her form like a cloak. Rinji's voice echoed through the mist, disorienting the attackers. She made it clear that they were now in her domain and could not escape the Mistweaver. With a swift hand sign, Rinji unleashed Mist Style, Silent Strangle. The mist thickened around one of the rogue ninjas, wrapping tightly around his body like invisible hands. The ninja gasped, his breath leaving his body as the mist constricted his chest, cutting off his air supply. Moments later, he collapsed to the ground, unconscious. Another rogue ninja, panicking, rushed toward Naruto but was instantly pulled back by Blue, the force of attraction slamming him into the ground. Naruto did not even spare him a glance as he raised his hand, the energy crackling around his fingertips. He made it clear that the attackers had made a mistake coming there. He flicked his fingers, sending a concentrated burst of chakra through the air, short-range instantaneous movement, instantly closing the gap between him and the remaining ninjas. Naruto's sudden appearance was like a blur, his speed unimaginable. He struck one ninja with the palm of his hand, sending him flying into the air with such force that it felt as if he had been hit by a truck. Another rogue shinobi, still trying to flee, was pulled back by the immense force of Blue, and Naruto's chakra crushed the space around the enemy's leg, shattering it instantly. Rayleigh and Rinji, meanwhile, had cornered the last few attackers. With a single, swift swing of his sword, Rayleigh cleaved through the air, his blade humming with dark energy. Dark Style, Abyssal Void. The dark energy surged forward, consuming the final rogue ninjas in a wave of pitch-black chakra, leaving nothing behind. As the mist cleared, the battlefield was littered with defeated enemies. Naruto lowered his hand, deactivating Infinity, while Rayleigh sheathed Ryujin Yami with a satisfied smirk. Rinji let the mist dissipate, revealing the now calm scene. Naruto turned toward the purple-haired girl they had saved. She looked at him, her eyes wide with awe and gratitude. He gently asked if she was all right, offering his hand. The girl hesitated, then nodded, taking his hand. She expressed her gratitude, her voice shaky as she acknowledged that she did not know what would have happened if they had not shown up. Naruto gave her a reassuring smile, letting her know she was safe now. Together, they left the battlefield, leaving the defeated rogue Kumo ninjas behind. As the purple-haired girl attempted to stand, her legs wavered unsteadily, and she stumbled slightly. Just as she was about to fall, Naruto stepped forward swiftly, catching her by the shoulders. This sudden movement brought them close, their faces mere inches apart. The girl's eyes widened, and a blush crept across her cheeks as she realized their proximity. Her heartbeat quickened, and she averted her gaze, flustered. Oblivious to the awkward tension, Naruto tilted his head slightly, his brow furrowing with genuine concern as he wondered if her flushed face was due to injury or illness. Rinji blinked, momentarily stunned, while Rayleigh raised an eyebrow, suppressing a chuckle. The tension of battle dissipated into surprise and mild amusement at Naruto's straightforwardness. Caught off guard by his question, the girl turned her head sharply, her embarrassment growing. She stammered that she was fine, still blushing furiously. Naruto, still clueless, nodded, relieved that she was okay. He stepped back and offered a reassuring smile. Rayleigh crossed his arms, shaking his head with a smirk, while Rinji teased Naruto about his way with words. Naruto scratched the back of his head sheepishly, insisting that he was just worried. Despite the lingering embarrassment, the girl appreciated Naruto's genuine care and thanked him quietly. He nodded confidently, affirming that they were there to help. Rayleigh cleared his throat, signaling it was time to move forward, reminding the group that they needed to keep going since more rogues might show up. Rinji agreed, already scanning the area. Naruto extended a hand to the girl once more, asking if she was ready. She hesitated for only a moment before placing her hand in his, affirming her readiness. With renewed resolve, they continued their journey, leaving behind both the battlefield and an unexpected moment that none would soon forget. As they walked through the forest, the tension of their earlier battle faded into the crisp air. Naruto, trying to break the silence, asked for the girl's name. She glanced at him briefly before introducing herself as Ei. Her voice was calm but carried a weight of sorrow beneath the surface. Rayleigh noted her origins from Kumo and inquired about why the ninjas had been after her. Ei took a deep breath, her gaze hardening with determination as she explained that her family had once been loyal to Kumo. Someone powerful had falsely branded her father as a traitor, accusing him of plotting against the Raikage. Naruto's eyes narrowed in anger at the injustice. Ei continued, her voice steady despite the pain in her words, revealing that the false charges had led to her parents' execution and her imprisonment alongside her twin sister. They had managed to escape, but during the ordeal, her sister had been killed. Naruto clenched his fists, realizing the extent of her loss. Rinji's expression turned grim as he acknowledged that they were now chasing her to silence her as well. Ei's resolve remained firm despite her evident grief. She vowed that she would not let her family's sacrifice be in vain and would prove their innocence, whatever it took. Naruto's usual carefree nature shifted to determination as he promised to protect her, assuring her that she was not alone anymore. Rayleigh solemnly affirmed that they were now her allies, and Rinji added that they would see justice served, regardless of her origins. Ei looked between them, gratitude softening her hardened expression. She expressed her appreciation, admitting that she had not expected to find anyone willing to help. Naruto grinned reassuringly, emphasizing that helping others was what they did. As they pressed forward, the group grew stronger with a shared mission: to protect Ei and uncover the truth behind the betrayal that had upended her life. As they continued their journey, Naruto noticed Ei's lingering sadness and tried to lighten the mood. He reassured her that there was no need to be serious since they would keep her safe. Ei turned slightly toward him, her eyes softening at his sincerity. However, before she could respond, Naruto, in his usual straightforward manner, commented on her still red face, suggesting she might have a fever. Ei's eyes widened in surprise, and a deep blush bloomed as she quickly turned her head away to avoid his gaze. Rayleigh raised an amused eyebrow, and Rinji cleared his throat, hiding a smirk at Naruto's obliviousness. Despite her embarrassment, Ei felt a sense of comfort in the group's warmth, realizing she was not alone for the first time in a long while. Even though Naruto's comments made her flustered, his sincerity lightened her heart. As they continued their journey, her blush gradually faded, replaced by a newfound determination. Ei, having no place to return to and a growing trust in Naruto and his companions, decided to join them. Despite her tragic past, she felt a sense of security with them, something she hadn't felt in a long time. Naruto welcomed her without hesitation, and Rayleigh and Rinji accepted her as one of their own. The journey to Zhuge Liang's house took 3 days, during which the group traveled through dense forests, crossed rivers, and occasionally fended off minor threats. Throughout their journey, Ei began to open up to them, though she remained cautious about fully trusting others due to her past experiences. Naruto kept the mood light, often teasing Ei, which only made her blush more and encouraged him further. When they finally reached Zhuge Liang's secluded home, they were greeted by Anasu, who had been waiting for their return. Naruto introduced Ei to everyone and explained her situation. Anasu, initially wary, eventually welcomed Ei, understanding the pain of loss and betrayal she had endured. Zhuge Liang, ever observant, merely nodded, sensing Ei's potential. Over the past 3 years, Naruto had grown tremendously, honing his abilities to a level that placed him among the most formidable shinobi in the world. Branded as an A-rank ninja in the bingo book under the alias Gojo, he had become a specter of power and skill, his name whispered with fear and respect. Anasu had also carved his legend, earning an A-rank title in the bingo book for his strength, intellect, and combat prowess. Ai had not been left behind either. Through rigorous training and relentless determination, she attained A-rank status, proving her worth as a shinobi and cementing her place among them. Naruto's training had been particularly intense, and over time, he had completely mastered the limitless and blue techniques, refining them to perfection. Naruto's swordsmanship had reached an unprecedented level, earning him a 7-star ranking according to his clan's standards, an achievement mirrored by Anasu, who had also attained the same level. With each passing day, their skills sharpened, their bonds deepened, and their journey continued toward an uncertain yet thrilling future. During his missions alongside Anasu and Ei, Naruto not only grew stronger but also built connections and earned the trust of many. His actions, sense of justice, and unwavering resolve inspired those he encountered. Whether saving villages from rogue ninjas, uncovering hidden conspiracies, or defending the innocent, Naruto's reputation spread like wildfire. Over time, he gained more allies, wandering swordsmen, outcast shinobi, mercenaries with a code, and even hidden clans that had distanced themselves from the shinobi world. Many were drawn to him by his conviction and vision. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the campfire crackled softly, Ai sat beside Naruto, her violet eyes reflecting the flames. A gentle silence enveloped them, a familiar comfort developed over the years they had traveled together. Ai finally broke the silence, pondering whether Naruto missed Konoha. He took a moment before responding, staring into the fire with an unreadable expression. He admitted that sometimes he missed the people he thought were his comrades and the bonds he believed were real, rather than the place itself. Ei nodded slowly, understanding the weight of betrayal in his words. She acknowledged how far he had come, noting that he had grown stronger not just in power but in spirit, something she deeply admired. Naruto glanced at her, a small smile forming at the corner of his lips, and remarked on her own transformation. He recalled how she had once struggled to survive, and now she fought for others, even when it was difficult. A soft blush colored Ei's cheeks as she turned her gaze away, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. She expressed that Naruto's belief in her, even when she couldn't believe in herself, had made a significant difference. Naruto chuckled lightly, affirming that believing in comrades was what they did for one another. Ei smiled more confidently, expressing her gratitude for meeting him. In that moment, surrounded by the warmth of the fire and the quiet of the night, an unspoken bond grew stronger between them. Ei's heart raced as she looked at Naruto, the firelight casting a soft glow on his face. She hesitated, unsure if she should reveal her feelings, but after everything they had experienced, the battles, the training, the shared laughter and pain, she knew she could no longer keep it buried. She began to share her feelings, nervously clutching the fabric of her cloak. She recounted how, during their time together, she had started to look forward to simply being near him. The little moments had become special to her. Taking a deep breath, she confessed that she had fallen for him, not because of his strength or heroism, but because he had seen the real her and still chose to stay. Naruto's eyes widened in surprise at her confession, but before he could respond, Ai leaned forward, closing the space between them. Their lips brushed gently in a soft kiss, shy and uncertain, yet filled with the emotions she had carried for so long. When she pulled back, her face was flushed, and she struggled to meet his gaze, apologizing for the suddenness of her actions. Naruto blinked, momentarily stunned, but then a warm smile spread across his face. He reached out to tuck a strand of her purple hair behind her ear and assured her that she did not need to apologize. He revealed that he felt the same way about her, expressing that she was important to him and always had been. In that moment, their bond deepened, evolving from comrades and friends into something much more heartfelt and real. 5 months had passed since Ei joined Naruto, Rayleigh, Rinji, and Anasu. During this time, their bonds had deepened, transforming from mere allies to something closer to family. Naruto had grown stronger than ever, mastering the intricacies of the limitless technique, sharpening his use of the six eyes, and unlocking the full potential of his ancestral blade, Ryujin Jakka. Under the quiet guidance of Zhuge Liang and through intense daily training, his growth had been extraordinary. However, peace was fleeting. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the forest in hues of gold and amber, a quiet unease settled over the land. Only Naruto and Anasu were returning from a joint scouting mission, while the others remained at Zhuge Liang's estate, focused on training or recovery. The forest, once alive with the sounds of rustling leaves and distant birdsong, now fell into an unnatural silence. The air grew heavy, and the wind stilled, as if the entire forest was holding its breath, waiting for something dangerous and inevitable. Naruto narrowed his eyes, sensing a subtle shift in the chakra around them. His hand instinctively rested on the hilt of Ryujin Jakka, and he exchanged a knowing glance with Anasu. They both understood that something was wrong. Then, a crushing pressure filled the air, dense, suffocating, and laced with killing intent. The sky dimmed, and the forest felt as though an invisible force was swallowing it. Naruto's expression hardened as his senses flared to full alert. He recognized a chakra signature he could never forget, cold, sharp, and inevitable. He muttered the name of his adversary, Uchiha Itachi, as his hand moved to the hilt of Ryujin Jakka, the ancient blade humming softly in response. His six eyes ignited with power, scanning the environment with precise clarity, catching even the subtlest movements in the shadows. From the treeline emerged two figures cloaked in black robes patterned with red clouds, the ominous mark of the Akatsuki. Itachi Uchiha stepped forward, serene as ever, the crimson glow of his Sharingan piercing through the dim light. Beside him stood a taller, more menacing figure, blue-skinned and muscular, grinning like a shark, ready to strike. Kisame Hoshigaki, wielder of the monstrous Samahata, loomed beside him. Itachi calmly acknowledged Naruto's growth, while Naruto stood firm, coldly remarking on Itachi's continued reliance on his cursed eyes and the presence of a beast at his side. The mission was clear: capture or eliminate a high-level threat. Kisame found amusement in the challenge, noting that their target had some fight in him. Itachi, however, silenced his partner with a steady gaze, acknowledging the strength that had grown in their opponent. The Akatsuki had deemed Naruto a significant threat, and their orders were XPLCT. If capture failed, elimination was the alternative. Naruto stood firm, his grip on Ryujin Jakka tightening as his chakra flared around him, creating an aura of blue energy that distorted the air. The concept of surrender held no meaning for him anymore. He stepped forward, the space around him warping, ready for the confrontation that loomed ahead. With a fierce glint in his glowing six eyes, he declared that they were too late for a fight. In an instant, he vanished, utilizing his limitless technique to reappear behind Itachi, his sword igniting in blazing crimson flames. He swung the weapon down with tremendous force, but Itachi narrowly dodged, the heat singeing his cloak. Itachi retaliated by hurling a shuriken laced with chakra, but the projectiles froze mid-air, caught in an invisible barrier. Naruto advanced, the blades of the shuriken melting away in the intense heat emanating from his sword. Itachi recognized the phenomenon and understood the futility of his attack. Undeterred, he attempted to ensnare Naruto in a genjutsu, but Naruto's six eyes dispelled the illusion effortlessly. Itachi then resorted to his Mangekyo Sharingan, unleashing the black flames of Amaterasu, which sought to consume Naruto. In response, Naruto raised his hand, summoning a vibrant shield of chakra that absorbed the flames before they could reach him. With a surge of power, he unleashed a torrent of fire, brighter than the sun, aimed directly at Itachi. The forest ignited as the flames surged forward, but Itachi quickly summoned his Susanoo, a protective barrier that absorbed some of the impact. The force of the blast sent shockwaves through the area, uprooting trees and creating a scorched crater. As the battle intensified, Naruto stepped forward, his aura flaring with chakra, leaving molten footprints in his wake. Itachi, recognizing the escalating danger, summoned the full form of Susanoo, now towering and armed. However, Naruto's chakra surged again, warping the air around them and creating a gravitational pull that even Susanoo struggled against. With a swift movement, Naruto struck, his blade infused with apocalyptic flames, targeting the spectral shield of Susanoo with brutal precision. The shield cracked under the immense pressure, and a burst of fire and energy exploded outward, shaking the ground. Itachi, staggered and wide-eyed, struggled to maintain his composure as the force of the blow sent him reeling. Naruto, undeterred, focused his limitless technique on the remains of Susanoo, compressing the air around it. The skeletal frame buckled under the pressure, and Itachi, desperate, attempted to invoke a forbidden jutsu to trap Naruto in an infinite loop. But Naruto's 6 eyes detected the chakra flow and disrupted the technique before it could stabilize. With blood trickling from Itachi's eyes, a sign of his desperation, he unleashed another wave of Amaterasu as a final effort. The spiraling black flames raced toward Naruto, but he raised a hand, pulling the flames inward and erasing them from existence with a technique that defied logic. As the air shimmered around him, Naruto's presence radiated authority and destruction. Itachi, realizing he was outmatched, activated his final trump card, pulling Naruto into a dark void shaped by his will. The battle had escalated to a level beyond mere confrontation, setting the stage for a clash that would determine their fates. Within the mental realm, time flowed at Itachi's command, and pain could stretch for days in mere seconds. Yet, Naruto remained resolute. His 6 eyes radiated with immense power, and the very fabric of the Tsukuyomi dimension began to distort under his will. The illusion could not withstand the impending collapse. As Tsukuyomi shattered, it fractured like broken glass around Naruto's luminous form. He proclaimed that infinity could not be trapped, his voice resonating across the void. In the real world, Itachi's breath caught as his final gambit failed. Before he could react, Naruto surged forward, his blade transforming into a colossal dragon made of fire and collapsing gravity, roaring with ancient fury. Itachi's Susanoo rose one last time in a desperate defense, but it was too late. Naruto cleaved through the spectral titan with a single, godlike slide. The force unleashed a massive explosion of fire and warped space, leveling everything within a 100-meter radius. Trees vaporized, the earth split, and the sky itself seemed to bend. When the smoke cleared and the fires dimmed, Itachi Uchiha was gone. There was no trace left, only scorched earth, shattered chakra, and a lingering heat that refused to dissipate. Naruto could not discern whether Itachi had been destroyed or had managed to retreat amidst the chaos. However, one thing was certain: he had emerged victorious. The world had just witnessed the rise of something more formidable than any Uchiha, a shinobi who had mastered infinity. While Naruto engaged in a fierce battle with Itachi, Anasu stood his ground against another formidable opponent, Kisame Hoshigaki, the tailed beast without a tail. The clearing where they faced each other trembled under the weight of their presence. Kisame's shark-like grin widened as he brandished the massive, scale-covered blade, Samahata, which writhed as if it were a living creature, sensing the cold chakra emanating from Anasu. Anasu remained silent, his expression unreadable, his eyes resembling glacier ice. He drew his weapon, Ryujin Kori, an ancient blade infused with the power of eternal frost. Cold steam hissed off the steel as it met the air. He raised it and slammed it into the ground, summoning a deep rumble that split the earth. From beneath Kisame, a massive ice dragon surged upward, roaring as it took form. Its jagged body sparkled with razor-sharp ice and snapped its jaws toward Kisame. Kisame cursed and leaped back, but Samahata reacted violently, absorbing chunks of chakra. It was not enough, however, as the icy beast collided with him midair, launching him across the battlefield and crashing through trees and rock. Despite rising with a cracked shoulder and blood smeared across his jaw, Kisame could only mutter his frustration. Anasu did not relent. He clapped his hands together, unleashing a frigid cyclone of swirling snow and razor-sharp ice shards that engulfed the battlefield. Kisame's water attacks, powerful jutsu like the water shark bullet, were torn apart by the vortex's twisting force. The temperature plummeted, frost covering the trees in mere seconds. Kisame roared and retaliated with a brutal wave of chakra, submerging the area in an ocean of surging water that crashed with the force of a tsunami. Yet, Anasu was prepared. The light within the mist bent unnaturally, creating dozens of mirror-like afterimages of Anasu that darted across the flooded terrain, each moving identically and flawlessly, making it impossible for Kisame to discern the real one. Kisame growled in frustration, searching for his opponent. Anasu then summoned a second dragon, smaller but faster, from the water beneath Kisa, slamming into his side and sending him flying once more. Ice wrapped around Kisame midair, slowing him down and biting into his skin as he landed hard, gritting his teeth and bleeding but still laughing. Anasu was not finished. He stabbed his sword into the waterlogged ground, causing pillars of ice to erupt violently from the earth, trapping Kisame by the legs before he could escape. He roared, swinging Samahata with brute force and shattering the ice just in time. However, the moment he broke free, Anasu activated his final form. A glowing, crystalline armor of translucent blue ice enveloped him, enhancing his speed, strength, and reflexes. Frost burst from his back like wings, and his movements blurred as he closed the distance in the blink of an eye. Steel clashed with scales as Anasu and Kisame collided, sword to sword, Ryujin Kori against Samahata. Ice clashed against devouring chakra in a brutal test of power. Anasu feinted low, spun, and struck high, launching Kisame into the air. As he fell, Anasu raised a palm, and vines of enchanted ice erupted from a frozen tree behind him, ensnaring Kisame midair and wrapping around his body like shackles. With a final explosion of cold, the tree froze solid, encasing Kisame in an icy prison. Kisame coughed blood, breathing heavily, yet acknowledged Anasu's strength. At that moment, a black crow wreathed in crimson flame descended from the canopy, signaling Itachi's arrival. Moments later, space bent unnaturally as Itachi reappeared, heavily burned and bleeding, his Sharingan barely visible through the soot. He locked eyes with Anasu and declared their retreat. Kisame grunted in agreement, acknowledging that their battle was not over. Anasu took a step forward, ready to finish the fight, but black flames surged, wrapping around the Akatsuki pair. Amaterasu engulfed them with a roar of wind and chakra, and the two vanished into the inferno. Silence returned to the forest, marking the end of the twin battles, but their war with the Akatsuki was far from over. The once thriving forest now bore the scars of conflict: charred earth, frozen craters, and shattered trees. Smoke curled into the dusk sky like spirits mourning the chaos that had unfolded. The air was thick with the scent of ash, ozone, and frozen mist. On the edge of the battlefield, Naruto leaned heavily on Ryujin Jaka, his cloak torn and singed, skin scorched from the heat of his flames. His breath came in sharp, shallow bursts, each inhale a reminder of the power he had just unleashed. Footsteps crunched softly behind him as Anasu emerged from the frost-bitten path, equally battered, ice crystals clinging to his armor, and his sword humming faintly with residual chakra. He inquired about Naruto's condition, and Naruto managed a dry chuckle, wincing as he straightened up. They shared a moment of silence, the glow of the dying sun bleeding through the cracks in the canopy above them, a testament to their hard-fought victory. Around them, nature remained eerily still, as if the forest had held its breath during the battle and was only now beginning to exhale. 2 battles had unfolded in that place. One was fought with fire, space, and relentless illusions, a duel between Naruto and Itachi Uchiha, where reality bent and flames threatened to consume the sky. The other was a violent clash of ice and tide, with Anasu facing the monstrous Kisa, transforming the forest into a frozen sea. Though they had emerged victorious, the encounters left a profound message for both them and the world. The Akatsuki had taken notice, and they were coming. Yet, another message resonated even louder: Naruto and Anasu were not to be underestimated. Stories of that day would echo across borders and shinobi nations. Tales would be whispered in the shadows and passed around campfires about a boy who commanded infinite flames and the frost-forged warrior who halted a walking tsunami with a single blade. As the last rays of sunlight faded and the stars began to pierce the sky, Naruto finally sheathed his blade and exchanged a nod with Anasu, signaling that it was time to leave. The forest, scarred and quiet, seemed to sigh in relief for the moment as peace returned. However, the storm was far from over. Hours passed since the fierce battle had ended, and the forest remained eerily silent, still bearing the heavy aura of the chakra clash that had shaken it to its roots. As moonlight bathed the ruined battleground in pale silver, a group of Konoha shinobi emerged cautiously through the trees, led by a seasoned Jonin flanked by Nine Biju operatives. They had tracked the massive chakra surge to this location, fearing the worst. What they found was devastation. The ground was scorched black in wide rings. Trees had turned to cinders or frozen solid in unnatural patterns. Craters and shattered earth stretched in every direction, and the once peaceful clearing now resembled a legendary battlefield. One of the shinobi whispered in awe and dread, unable to comprehend the scene before him. Then, someone called out, directing attention to the center of the clearing. There, half buried in ash and soot, fluttering faintly in the cold wind, was a tattered orange jacket, stained with fresh blood. A hush fell over the group as the Jonin stepped forward, his face tightening in concern. He knelt beside the jacket and lifted it gently. The Konoha symbol on the back was nearly scorched away, but he recognized it instantly. He muttered the name of the owner, acknowledging the gravity of the situation. One of the Nine Biju operatives stared at the battlefield wide-eyed, astonished by the destruction. Another younger shinobi, visibly shaken, questioned whether Naruto had survived. The Jonin remained silent, gazing out across the silent devastation, the blood-stained jacket still in hand. He pondered the implications of Naruto's confrontation with Itachi, uncertain of what had truly transpired. In the depths of his thoughts, Naruto reflected on his fight with Itachi and how he had deceived Konoha into believing that Itachi had captured him while he watched the moonlight illuminate the night sky.